I still can see. I see the sea beautiful. It is purple, golden, green, fish and simos? Simos, yes. Healthy, hearty, handy, just in time too, because it will go well with my chocolate that I, with my own hands, learn how to make from my own cocoa. I will pursue them. I will endeavor. I will not stop because I will persevere and I will grow. Nutut, she, he, me, we. And all the while I keep singing. I sing and I dance too. Sometimes my middle even split. And while I have found fame in sports, I am also known for my service. So as I jump, I kick, I bat and I bowl, I protect and I serve and I teach. And yes, I am still running. I run not just because I can, and God knows I can, but because it reminds me too that from Prale to the Chumasi, everything in between is me. All the work is mine. All the joy is mine. And the tears, they are mine too. I still have strength. I still have pride. And although I have changed with the seasons, my essence persists. My culture resists and fights for its life. Parce que nous toutes ces mêmes. I am he, I am she. I am me, I am we. Now this is 2021, unprecedented. A time of uncertainty, that's understood. A time of fear and of loss, but also a time for faith. I will lean on that which we have already built. He will stand, she will rise, we, nous toutes. Piti epiquois. Jaune et rouge. Nous toutes ces chrétiens, we will do it. We will ride that wave, not just because we want to do it, but because we dare to do it together.
Nom la fait bail.
Well, good night to you once again, wherever you are. A special good evening to you in St. Lucia, in the Caribbean islands, around the world. Welcome to the program Inside Castries Southeast. Along with the minister, the parliamentary representative for Castries Southeast, the Honorable Guy Joseph. And tonight, he has his beautiful wife, Miss Wendy Joseph, is in studio as well. And I know something caused you to be here tonight, because you were here a couple of months ago, I think 2 months ago, but yes, you have to do what you have to do. Mr. Joseph, good night, sir. How are you?
Good night, Champion, and special good night to all listeners. If it's Monday night, it's Inside Castries Southeast.
Yes, indeed.
And tonight I want to extend special greetings to all my constituents throughout the length and breadth of the constituency. You know, it's a very large constituency. I've had the opportunity over the last couple of weeks to visit quite a few of the people. I want to say a special good night to all the elderly people, especially those who are tuned in, very regular listeners. To Sky FM and those who view on GVD TV. Also, I want to say special good night to all our listeners in the diaspora and those who follow us on Facebook. Tonight, I want to say a special good night. Bonsoir, Miss Gertrude. Ça, c'est un Madame Powers, Old Bel Air, constituency. Hier après-midi, moi visité. Et qui dit moi birthday était en janvier et qui paraît moi m'a venu visiter so m'a dit un special bonsoir au soir et qui joue notre transistor radio hier so il dit moi il a écouté programme là Also, I want to say special good night to Karen up in New York. And we have a lot of listeners. We have listeners all over the U.S.
Yes.
who are following our discussions on Sky FM.
Yes.
And Champagne really, I mean, Sky FM has really done a lot in bringing information to the people of St. Lucia. I want to say a special good night to my wife. It's always a joy to have her on the program with me. So I would allow her to say good night to everyone, and then we'll get into the discussion for tonight.
A pleasant good evening to all the listeners, those from Castries Southeast, as well as those around St. Lucia in the diaspora, all over listening to Inside Castries Southeast this evening.
Yes. Well, nice to have you here. I think you were here when? What month are we? Were you in January, I think? You were in January?
Yes.
And I always keep your husband here really late, and that is not a good thing for you. So tonight, you're going to be here, I think, really late. Mr. Minister, we want to start somewhere, and let's see how I'm going to phrase it. When some news came out over the weekend where you were conducting a special service at your church up in Forestier and something happened. You want to let us know exactly what transpired?
So, first of all, Champagne, I want to be able to put things in perspective in terms of what is happening. That is not a pleasant thing to report on. It is a very, very unfortunate situation. Left to me alone, that might have not even made it to the media in terms of my response. And you would see that this event happened. Almost every single media house have contacted me to make a comment, to give my side or to relate what happened, because everybody have their sides. I don't want to relate my side. I want to relate what happened from what I experienced. It is unfortunate and it is sad, because for me, I don't use church matters for politics. I've been in politics. This is my 15th year in politics. I have never been brought. Well, I was brought once. A lawsuit was filed against me by Claudius Francis, which I won because there was really nothing much. It was just that a basic statement that was made months before, and then he decided that he was going to take the matter up. Claudius and I still maintain a very good relationship up to this day. Because in the political arena, once you venture into this field, there are certain things. But one of the things I have tried to do over the years, and people are quick to pass judgment on me, especially when it comes to politics, and people think if I'm good or if I'm bad. In politics, there's the good, the bad, and there's the ugly. Some people, and sometimes the good can be ugly because it may not be what is convenient. It may, and I wish I could report something different tonight from what I have to report. You would know over the years, I have never come to present myself in the political arena as a church person or use the Christian denomination or the church to advance my politics. I've always presented myself as Guy Joseph. Very few of my profiles you would see my religion being highlighted. And that is very deliberate. It's not because I think that I'm better than other persons or that other persons are better than me. everyone has their own perspective of life.
Amen.
And of how they do things. I take my church life very serious. That may be something that other people may question, and that's their right to do so. I have maintained a certain profile and a certain standard in the arena of politics and religion. And I've maintained a very good relationship with my church, with all the churches I visit. When I visit churches, I don't look for the prominent seats. I sleep quietly on the side. If I'm recognized, I'm recognized. If I'm not recognized, I don't make that an issue, because people know you by the things you do, the way you relate to people, and how you deal with things in general. My wife is seated here with me today, not because she wanted to be here tonight. Left to her alone, she would not have been here. She's not the person who likes to be in the limelight and in the limelight and be able to be the one. She'd rather be the invisible one in everything that happens. And it's not because there are any issues with us. She knows that this is what I do, and she respects what I do. I've said it in the past. I said it on Rick's program. I've said it on this program. This is my biggest critic. I don't get away with anything that I do. Even my pronunciation of words. Even when I use is and I should use was, or I use has and I should have used have. She would tell me, but how many times have I told you? that is how, because when we communicate the way we are most comfortable with.
Right.
And I told her at school we deliberately spoke bad English, kids. So we use words out of place just to sound funny.
Really?
And over the years, sometimes that registers in your mind, and sometimes you would not believe, Champagne. Sometimes I am about to give a speech and I get confused about, okay, how do I use this word correctly? I would either call her or I would send her a message and say, how do I say that correctly? That is the type of relationship that we have in terms of, so what other people get away with, I don't get away with when it comes to my wife and my family. They are my biggest critics. Why am I saying all of this? Because sometimes people paint a picture of you that is so far from the reality of who you are. Now, I know a lot of people would be in suspense as to, I have read the articles that I have seen, I've read some of the comments. You would not see me making any comment about anybody on social media. I don't go about attacking people under pseudonyms and under this and under that. Guy Joseph always believes what you see is what you get.
Right.
I don't have no hidden agenda. I don't say anything behind people's back that I cannot say in their presence. If I cannot say it in your presence, I will not say it behind your back. I've found myself in a lot of problems in politics for speaking the truth. And I welcome that. I welcome being in trouble for speaking the truth, because I'd much rather be in trouble for speaking the truth than to be in trouble for speaking lies. And the incident that happened and the report is so far from the truth. It is like night and day. Now, I am very, very puzzled as we speak tonight. I am still trying to make sense out of what happened. In fact, the accusations that have been leveled at me, I'm flabbergasted by it. There's no even sense of reasoning and rationale for it about me capitalizing on the death of an individual and to capitalize on a family's grief. I mean, if I do something like that, I should not. I would have to have a very serious problem.
Yes, I agree.
Because that is so far-fetched for me that, I mean, I'm not behind. I'm not in a race where I'm trying to catch up.
Right.
I am in a race where all the indicators show that I am ahead. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to remain that way. It doesn't mean the final result is going to be that you remain ahead. Things change along the way. But I see absolutely no reason. And that is why I am so puzzled. And I've read the things, not because I'm interested in these things. And you see my wife, you see there, she has not read anything. Some of the messages that I have received and some of the statements that have been made, I don't know how she got involved in that. And I don't know how, I guess, by association, by being my wife, she's had to pay a heavy price. I think our relationship has been tested in the political arena from every angle. She's been attacked. Things have been said about her that she knows nothing about. Accusations. Her name is a popular name in the parliament, on the media, among different talk show hosts. And I've said to people, I am the politician. I don't think there are many politicians whose wives have been in the public domain as my wife has been. And it's not because she has done anything. Now, she came here with me tonight because on Saturday morning, when we woke up to get ready to go to church, her intention was, she was not feeling very well and she would not have attended service that morning. Then she said she would have gone to pick up her mother, to take her mother to church, but then eventually she ended up, and we always go to church together. Once she's going to service, we go on the same vehicle and we go to church together. So we got to church. When we got to the church, I went inside and she was having a conversation outside. I have a regular place that I sit in church. Once I get to church and that seat is available, that's where I sit. If I visit the Labbe church, everybody knows where they would find me in the Labbe church. I would pass on the side door. I would never walk through the front door of the church so that everybody sees me walking in the church. I would walk past on the side of the building. I would come on one of the side doors and slip into the closest bench to the door so that I can be as invisible as possible in the process. And I do that in any church that I go. I mean, for the protocols, people usually recommend that you come up front and you sit somewhere so you cannot be offensive to people, so you follow the directives that you are given. But coming to church for me was a regular, and I don't go to church occasionally or when it's convenient. I go to church every single Saturday. For the 15 years I have been in government, and when I say government, in 10 years in government, 5 years in opposition, I don't recall missing church for any reason. All my colleagues know that I go to church. There are certain things we practice there are certain areas we are strong and there are certain areas we are weak. I don't condemn people who are weak in areas because I'm not weak in that area, and because my area of weakness may be the area of strength. So I am always active in my church, have always been. I have an excellent relationship with all the members of my church. The church where I worship, where I congregate, you would know people visit churches and they try to make political mileage. I try to avoid that as much as possible. I would say the next closest church to my church would be Labe. That is the church that I visit on a most regular basis. And it's more because of the programming, and it's the size of the church also. When you're there, you're almost invisible because there are so many people there. So my wife and myself would go there, and we have lots of friends in Labe, and you go and you enjoy a good church service, you know that. Now, COVID has impacted all of that. But so with our church, we had benches in the church. The benches have been removed because of COVID. And I will tell you, anybody who comes to our church in Forestier would know that this church is very strict on protocol. The elder is very strict on protocol. The members are very, very strict on following the protocols, those who are in charge, the leaders. There's myself. And I always tell them, I cannot be a government minister. I'm worshiping here. And if they come and carry out a random inspection in the church to find me in a congregation where people are not following the protocols, do you know that there are members that since this happened who have not attended the church service for almost a year because they cannot wear their mask. Okay. And they know that they cannot enter the church if they do not have their mask on. There are other persons who are Mrs. Gustav, who is the head of Nemo, is also, that is the congregation where she worships. And she also is a stickler for the protocols. So if she comes there, or I come there, or the elder himself comes, and the pastors always remark that they are so pleased with the level at which the church follows the protocols. So based on our size, square footage, and setting the chairs 6 feet apart, we have maybe just a little less, about 40 or thereabout. So if you occupy the entire church building, and sometimes a couple people sit in the vestry, and if there's 1-2 people, there's usually one person on the platform at a time, and then in the doorway, there's a porch and there's a doorway. There's somebody sitting at the door. Every single member who comes in has to sanitize, the temperature taken, the record is entered in the book. So they can tell you what your body temperature was from a year ago. If you go to the Forestier Church every Sabbath, they will be able to give it. So these are the protocols that we follow. So on last Sabbath, we were in church. Church had started. A young person, just barely about 12, 13 years, 13. Was 13. She was the one. We have the Sabbath school section. So she led out in that part of the service. And then after that, sometimes we don't have preaching. We have what we call a lesson discussion. And sometimes I take up the lesson. Sometimes the elder takes up the lesson. Sometimes when the pastor is present, the pastor would preach. Church services are not the regular normal service we used to have prior to COVID. Lots of adjustments have been made. So there we were. That section of the service ended. So I was called to take up the lesson study. So when I am called to come up, the person who was on the platform has to leave. We wipe down the podium. And then the next person comes in. The only person you would find in the church without their mask at any one time is the person speaking. When I was called, we did a prayer for the brethren in St. Vincent, given what the volcano had done. And during the week, we had a Council of Ministers meeting of ECTEL, and Honorable Camilo Gonzalez, who is the Minister for Telecommunications, who's also a member of the ECTEL board, the same board that I am a part of, gave us a rundown of the situation in St. Vincent and the areas, the challenges and how difficult it is for them while they are recouping from the pressures, and there were still volcanic eruptions happening, though on a smaller scale. And it is a very grim situation for our people in St. Vincent. So I was just about, after the prayer, because it's not me that did the prayer, every individual had the opportunity to pray for their heart's desire for the people of St. Vincent. And then I was just about to announce some of the things we can do, what collections, what items, what are the things we needed to maybe put together to couple with other persons who are sending things over to St. Vincent to assist, because while we are in need in St. Lucia, I think that the people in St. Vincent are in much greater need than we are. My throat is troubling me. I can tell you we get quite a bit of dust because of where I live.
Height, the elevation.
From the volcano also in St. Vincent. But I experienced something that I have never experienced before in my life. So I was just about to make the statement. In fact, I was speaking, and I just saw somebody storm through the door of the church. Did not observe the lady who was taking the temperature, did not observe the protocol that was established that people had to be sanitized before they entered. The person did not walk into the church. The person burst into the church, like coming in at a certain speed, walked into the church, got past the last row of chairs in the back, then past the row before the last, and got about maybe close to, I would say, the third row of chairs. And I heard three noises that echoed almost like, it was not as loud as a bullet, but it was something that caught your attention. And it was, then I realized the person who stormed in clapped their hands very loud about 3 or 4 times. It happened so quickly that I did not even count or to say, because it's not something you expected. So everybody was taken by surprise. And apart from the person clapping so loud and the church is silent, and so that echoed in the building. The person stamped their feet on I mean, you literally heard as if it's something that fell on the concrete in the building. And the person said, "Where is Guy Joseph? Where is Guy Joseph? I want Guy Joseph. Where is Guy Joseph?"
Yeah.
And it's like the church froze at that point, momentarily. It's like everything went. There's the tenseness of the place. You could have felt it. And he was just ranting and raving. It was at that point I realized that it was Mr. Joachim Henry. He had his green cap with the star. You see the Labour Party candidates. They have a green cap with a red star at the front.
That was brought about in 2011, that cap.
He had the jeans pants and he had a short sleeve shirt. And let me say here, I don't recall since 2016 that I have ever seen Joachim Henry attend church service in Forest. I don't recall. I'm not saying he has never. That is not the church that he worships at. That is not a place that he visits on a regular or even irregular basis.
Mr. Minister, you remember the time that went on, about what time it was?
I would think when the Sabbath school ended, it would have been around 25 to 11, maybe between 20 to 11. So by the time they sang the song, did the prayer, so it might have been between 10 to 11, somewhere thereabout.
Okay.
It is within that time range, but I don't think it was 11 o'clock yet, because we usually start the lesson study a little while before 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And there may be other church members. Wendy, do you recall what time it would have been?
No, I know it's between 10:30 and 11 because of what normally
What
takes
happens
place at that time.
Yes, yes.
So when that happened, when the church was still in a very tense mode, and I was flabbergasted because I was the only one standing. And contrary to the report that I had a mask on, I did not have a mask on, because I was the one speaking at the time. I can tell you where my mask was. My mask was on the chair behind me. I had a bright orange shirt. The church is not, the building is not a very big building. So once you enter the front door, and even approaching the church, and Mr. Henry, there's parking in front of the church. There was space. He did not drive his vehicle down to the front of the church. When I looked out the door, there's a sharp turn that you make before you entered the church. The vehicle was parked just before the turn. So he parked his vehicle there and he walked and stormed into the church. And like I told you, clap his hands about 3 times, if my memory, stamp his foot and started shouting out. Because everybody was kind of in a trance and in shock when that happened, everybody stayed still, and he was turning around as if he's looking for me. And it is so obvious that I am the most visible person, Champagne.
Yeah.
Now look at, there's no exaggeration. There were good close to 40 persons in the church, and you can ask any member of the church who was there on that Sabbath morning how accurate I am in relating what happened. The first person who stood up was my brother Rightis. Now Rightis is not in the best of health, as I've spoken about his condition, so that is public knowledge in terms of his, and of late he's been having some challenges. He got up, he was the first person who got up, and he walked towards Joachim, or Mr. Henry, let me be very respectful. He walked towards Mr. Henry and said, if you don't know who Guy Joseph is, what do you want with him? Because it was so obvious to him that it's only somebody who does not know Guy Joseph who would have not noticed that Guy Joseph was the one standing in front of the church.
So you said, Mr. Minister, he just didn't see you. Is that a fair statement? Because everybody else was sitting and you're the only one standing. And if you're walking towards the podium, you would have visualized someone standing.
Well, I will come to that part later because some people don't believe in miracles. I believe in miracles.
Okay.
And I will come to that later.
Yes.
But, so while Mr. Henry was ranting and raving, and when I read the report on St. Lucia Times, I am being very considerate. as considerate as I can be in the circumstances, I will take away nothing from the grief of Mr. Henry and his family. And I said to my wife, I said to Wendy, if they told me they wanted me to be the punching bag, to vent their frustrations on me, I would have gladly taken that, because that is, I am sure that would be less painful for me than the pain that they are going through for their loss. But I guess I am the last person they would want to hear that from. But that doesn't change what any one of us feel as human beings. It is easy for us to pass judgment on other persons. And when I read some of the comments about describing me as a monster and having because I am childless and because is a block of ice I have for my heart. These are the words that have been used by that family to describe me. And up to now, I am still waiting. I have read the things that are there, because I am still waiting to hear what I did or what I said about to dishonor the name of their son that would cause them to vent and to have that kind of venom towards me. And I'm telling you, if they're lashing out at me at this point in time makes them feel better, then I'm happy to take these blows. And I'm not saying this, I'm not the one who needs sympathy out there. They are the ones who need it. I didn't come here to look for people to sympathize with me. I can only relate the truth, and I can only say what happened on the day. Now, that is as far as Mr. Henry is concerned. Because when Wendy heard the commotion that had started inside, she was coming out of the vehicle to come inside to see what was going on. And maybe I can allow her to relate from her standpoint what she encountered on the outside and what she said before she entered the church.
So, Ms. Joseph, did you see anything from the outside, according to what Mr. Joseph just said? Did that thing start from the outside?
Champagne, I am sad to be here tonight for this reason.
I understand.
For this reason, because it hurts my heart that I have to be here, or we have to be here, talking about this. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, that should not have happened. Mm-hmm. It should not have gone this far.
I agree.
And even before I say anything, I'd like to say that I can never say that I understand what the Henrys are going through. I don't. I can't. But I sympathize with them. In other words, no parent should have to bury their child. No parent whatsoever. I'm sure it's one of the hardest things for a parent to bury a child. As in the circle of life, it is children who bury parents. Mm-hmm. So I cannot imagine, Champagne, how difficult a time it is right now for the Henrys. Yeah. And when I heard of this unfortunate incident, my heart went out. Seriously went out. But for some reason, it has become this, So like Mr. Joseph said, all I can do is relate exactly what happened. Yeah. So he had already said it was the Saturday. We were in service. I was in the vehicle speaking with somebody, and I noticed that somebody just, rushed into the church. So I said, listen, I have to go. Something is happening here. Mm-hmm. And I heard the noise and whatever. And so as soon as I got out of the vehicle and just swinging around the vehicle to enter the church, I saw Mrs. Henry. And before I said anything, she says, you need to warn your husband, you need to warn him, and whatever, stuff to that effect that I need to watch. So I said, what is going on? I mean, I was so surprised. What is going on? What is it that I need to warn him about? And I was genuinely asking that question.
Right.
What on earth is going on that would warrant this? So she went inside. And at that time, I remained outside looking in from outside at what was going on. And then there was just a lot of commotion on the inside.
But the commotion was just between him and some of the other church members, or
No,
or
it was
just
Mr. Henry was talking, shouting. Mrs. Henry was saying her piece on the other side, so it was both. And then what happened? You had a number of church members trying to
to calm things down.
And asking, well, okay, can we take it outside? Can we, because everybody was taken.
So at that time, he's still looking for Mr. Joseph, or he had seen him by that time?
Well, see, since I don't have his eyes, I cannot really tell you whether he actually saw.
Yes.
But he was. Guy was standing right there on the pulpit, and he was just towards the front of the pulpit. So I don't see how you could not see.
Miss, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, but only he can see whether he saw him or not. I'm not sure. It didn't appear that he saw him, but only he can verify that. That was surreal. I went home in the evening, and I'm saying to Guy, I said, pinch me and tell me that this is not real. I think it's time for me to get up out of that dream, because that doesn't seem real.
How long you thought he stayed inside the building?
I can't say. Maybe about 15 minutes.
He stayed in there 15 minutes?
The thing is, when things are happening, I never check the time, so
Yes.
I couldn't be accurate. But when things are happening, sometimes a shorter space of time seems way longer.
Yeah,
so I cannot verify. But in my mind, it seemed like about 15 minutes.
So the whole time was he still
Oh, yes.
carrying on?
Oh, yes.
The whole 15 minutes?
Yes.
Well, basically.
Until they came outside.
So Mr. Joseph, how you thought he came outside? Was he brought out by some of the people?
Yes,
Was he asked?
So when this thing, now Champagne, by the time my wife knows me, I don't look for trouble, but I don't back away from trouble.
I agree.
If you come and confront me, I will stand my ground.
Amen.
I thank God on that day. And all those who want to think I'm the devil and I'm this and I'm that, that's their call.
But how could you be the devil and you just standing in there?
Hold on. I have been, when you talk about politicians who have been under attack in St. Lucia,
Oh, yeah.
I have suffered every abuse imaginable from the Labour Party.
Yes, sir.
So this is not a Joachim Henry issue. This is an issue of the St. Lucia Labour Party and what they advance. You see the comments on social media that you have never heard it condemned by prominent speakers on behalf of the Labour Party. They said they should put a bomb under my seat and the Prime Minister's seat in Parliament. There's every call for violence. Every kind of threat has been made towards myself, my person, that they would do whatever it takes to get me out of the Parliament. You would think that I am the only person who is a politician in St. Lucia. And my mother and my wife always says that. So everybody else in politics, why is everybody after you? They tell me maybe because you're the loudmouth. Maybe because you're the one who always out there speaking. So, and I get that. You come into the political arena, you expect to get blows.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I always tell them, I can get blows, I can give blows, and I can take blows. Because that is where nobody forced me to be there. I chose to be there. So, in dealing with the situation at the church, there were two doors on either side. Now, you see what we are describing there is nothing words cannot describe the intensity, the atmosphere that existed. For the first time in my life, I felt so vulnerable. I was in a place, and I am telling you, that's why I told you, people can call me what they want. Some people don't believe in miracles, but I believe that Mr. Henry not seeing me was a miracle. Not because I am so good, not because maybe God allowed it to be that way to protect both Mr. Henry and myself. Because the venom, the anger, what I saw, and I don't want to use any words that would cast a negative aspersion on the character of Mr. Henry. In fact, in his own words, on, was it Jaim or Yadi or whichever one, he said he was enraged.
Well, you use that word.
And enraged is a mild word for the demeanor that I saw coming to me.
Wow.
And to further compound the situation, his wife walked in. I guess the wife saw me, because the wife came straight up towards me. So Mr. Henry is on one side of the church, and a whole set of the members surrounded him, trying to restrain him, to the point where when the elder tried to calm him down, he shoved off the elder of the church.
Oh boy.
On a side. It was a battle.
It was confrontational.
Very.
Yes.
This is
It
someone
was
that meant
somebody who was ready to fight.
business. Yes.
That is what I saw.
Yes.
Now, people can tell me about grieving, about this, yes. But how does that, what did I do to deserve what was coming there? Because if you're so vexed, you're so frustrated, why you want to pass it on me? Now, like I said, if I was told, look here, man, I'm going to pass my frustration here, and if I knew that's what was happening, I would gladly take it. But when I saw the reports that came out after, when I saw, before the end of the day, I saw reports on the, I saw something on the Star, I saw reports on St. Lucia News Online, there was things going all over the media. I did not speak to anybody. Nobody got a report from me as to what transpired. I think within minutes of the things happening, I was told it was already on a talk show. In fact, the police officer who was involved was the one who indicated to me that something had already been out there on the media.
So the police was called in?
Yes. So when the wife came in, and she came towards me, and she started, I can tell you some of the words that was used, that you are wicked, you are heartless, because you have no children. I mean, some of it I picked up in all of the commotion, and some of it I did not pick up everything that was said. So one set of people now move to kind of restrain the wife away from me, and another set of people restraining Mr. Henry on the other side. Eventually, they both found themselves in the middle of the church building, so, and the two of them held each other, and then the other members of the church surrounded them. A grandmother of one of the young boys in the church called me and said, this boy is going to do something. I called him. he came and he stood up there. He said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do anything. But he stood between myself, Mr. Henry, and the commotion, and I guess he stood there as a shield. He fought to protect me. Now, what I was saying to you earlier, Champagne, I had the options of walking out through the side door. I had the options of going into the vestry. I would never leave the rest of the church exposed. If a man came for me, he would have me. Mm-hmm. I would never allow my wife or anybody else there to get hurt for my sake. I would take what was coming to me by myself. So when I realized the commotion was not stopping, and then the whole service had been totally disrupted. And you know, when people accuse you of telling lies about them, and I see the reports that have been put out there, which is so far from the truth, not even remotely true by those persons, I have to question, what is the cause of this? What is it that is the driving force? So when I realized all that, then there was another young lady, and I will have them play, because she could not even speak to me. She was in tears. She was having a panic attack. Mm-hmm. Everybody, I was staring down Mr. Henry when he came in, and he was asking for me, because what I saw was that my life was in danger. Mm-hmm. So I was looking to see, after he clapped his hands and he did his thing, at one point in time his hand was in his pocket. So I kept on looking, because he had a kind of a small shirt on. I was watching. There was another gentleman, I guess he kind of froze. He sat there. He didn't even get up in all of that. And he told me he was looking behind him to see if he had any weapon with him. I've heard people saying things. I never saw him with a weapon. I never saw, he did not draw a gun. He never displayed any weapon in the church. Mm. I don't know whether he had or whether he did not have. But I did not see, because I know people. It's afterwards I got to know that he's a licensed firearm holder. Now, when I saw the commotion and I realized that this thing was escalating out of control, because he was resisting, and it's me he wanted to come for. Because he moved from one side of the church to the middle of the church to the front of the church on the other side each time. So I said to myself, but no, I cannot have all of these things. So I came down from where I was. I passed in front of him, and I said, if you want to deal with me, let's go outside. Mm-hmm. And I did not look behind me at that point, Champagne. I just said that. You see, as calm, that was the most that I said in everything that transpired there. And I turned my back and I walked outside. I went, I stood by my vehicle, and I waited. Because I wanted him to come out of the church, because I realized that things were escalating completely out of control, and I did not want anybody in the church to get hurt for my sake. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. So if it's me you want, and if it's me you come for me, then here I am. Right. Leave the rest of the people out of it. Now, people will tell me about grief, and they will tell me about the difficulties, and I'm not taking that away. I'm not discounting anything that this family is going through. But because a family is going through this, it gives you the right. Yeah. What right does that give you to pick on other people? Yeah. I mean, if I did something, or I'm still trying, and I'm hoping that they can come up with something that I said or I did that can justify what triggered that action. And so I went outside, one of the sisters from the church came to me and said, "Brother Guy, you all right?" I said, "Yes, I'm all right. I'm okay." She said, "You sure?" She said, "I don't want you outside. Please don't stay outside. Let's go." I did not hesitate. Now I can be very hard-headed, Champagne. My wife can tell you that.
Yeah.
I can be very hard-headed when I make up my mind. And on that day, I thank God for everything that happened. That's not the guy Joseph that I knew. Because the guy Joseph that I know, that would not have been his reaction. And I tell people, I don't pretend. I don't know how to pretend, Champagne. Anything, I cannot make up stories about people. And if I relate that story 100 times, I will relate it the same way because I don't have to remember what I said. Mr. Henry said some things in the church. He said some things to my wife outside. My wife can relate to that because my wife offered them to dialogue, but nobody wanted to dialogue on this. So I went outside. I waited a few minutes. When the sister came to me and told me, I went back inside. All of that time, they are still inside, making all kind of remarks about, and they said about son. When he was in the church, he didn't speak about his son. He spoke about campaign and he used his own money for the campaign, and the party did not give him money for the campaign and whatever. I know the only thing I said about this is when Dr. Anthony said in the Parliament of St. Lucia that he gave me 3.5 million. I debunked that, and I said it right there in the Parliament. He said about his vehicle. His vehicle has been a subject of discussion from since the previous election. That's not anything new. So when all of that was said, and I went back inside the church and they were still there causing the commotion. Everybody, the entire church service was disrupted. The young people, I can tell you, some of the young people were literally trembling. Some of them, and I don't want to incite anything negative. Because no matter what they think about me, I still very much sympathize with the Henry family.
Yeah, but Mr. Joseph,
and I'm being very, very reserved in my comments.
Yeah.
I'm just relating what I must relate in relation to this, but you had to experience it. The only place I have always felt safe is in church.
Yeah. It doesn't seem that way.
Champagne, I have been living under an immense measure of stress for over a year. I don't come and complain to anybody, and I'm not saying this because I want any sympathy. Because I know the Labour Party is willing to get rid of me at any cost. And I have said it. I've said it on the platform. I've said it in Parliament. I've said it on the media. The Labour Party will stop at nothing to get rid of Guy Joseph, because they always say it's because of me they lost the elections. And if they can get rid of me, then they can get rid of the UWP. That is what this is about. So when I come to church, and that's the only place I do not have a special protection person with me, and I'm wondering whether that would have been part of the reason why the attempt to attack me was in church. Because if I said something, or if something was said, I passed Mr. Henry at least 3 or 4 times during this past week in the constituency campaigning. I passed his vehicle parked there in Derba, in Badney. I passed him along the Bexon Road. We have passed each other on several occasions in the constituency. And I will play a video, I will get them to play a video tonight. That is not the first time that attempt for confrontation with me have been attempted. I have walked away. A report has already been filed more than a month ago. There was no incident with his family. His son had not passed. I was doing a project in the Wavin Poisson community. I was present. He came, he passed, he jammed me, he went. And he's measuring the works with me there and saying how I gave millions of dollars of work and I have the fellas working there for nothing.
After jamming you?
And made all kinds of remarks. And then when I moved away from there, I went and I stood away to avoid confrontation. When that happened, when he was coming back, he passed by where I was and he said, your people have been posting derogatory things about my wife. So I did not respond first. He said it again. I said, my people. I said, what do I know about? He said it was Jesse's wife's birthday. I said, brother man, I don't get involved. Nobody can say that they have seen a post on social media from Guy Joseph about anybody, good or bad. I'm not into this. Mm-hmm. So he kept on ranting and raving about his wife to the point where I tell him, so is your wife alone that's wife? Mm-hmm. My wife is not wife. Yeah. Because all the times you all have attacked her, all the things you all have said about her, not for once have I heard you say, well, that is not fair, that is not right. Say to your colleagues they should not do that. Exactly. My wife has been a subject of discussion about school and about this and about that in Parliament. And then he said, you better watch yourself with me, or words to that effect. I cannot say but the words. Now, for me, that was just crosstalk. I didn't take it to mean much. But the officer who was with me filed a formal complaint because he told me, you may not understand that, but this is a threat. Right. So this thing did not start yesterday morning or on this incident. That, I guess, the grief and the sorrow and the pain that he is going through may have aggravated the situation and caused him to manifest other things that I don't know. I don't want to play psychologist. I don't want to play psychiatrist. I don't want to evaluate nobody. I can only evaluate what I saw coming towards me. And I was very vulnerable. And I was vulnerable because I could not walk away to protect myself and leave the other people who was in the line of fire for me. And in the line of fire does not say that he had a fire. Yes. When I say in the line of fire, I would not allow somebody to take licks for me and I run away.
Yes, I agree.
That's not my style.
Mr. If I may, and before we go to the audio or the video, you're saying this whole time not a word about his son was mentioned.
Not that I recall.
Because
well, no, I think his wife did come in and say something about her son. So she said that that guy was using her son's death for political.
Well, that is what I keep hearing out there all day today. I heard that you were making remarks for campaign purposes in regards to the death of his son. Now, before you respond
so that's
to that,
what the wife said, but Mr. Henry didn't say anything.
No, but I'm saying I heard that out there. So before you respond to that, I remember last Monday's program, you sympathized with Mr. Henry, his family, on the passing of their son, right here in that chair. So I couldn't understand when I heard people saying that you, on another breath, was using that for campaign purposes. I couldn't understand it.
I am still very baffled by that because I'm trying to understand, how do you use somebody's death for campaign purposes?
I couldn't figure it out.
What is there to gain from doing this?
I couldn't figure it out.
And he said that I've been telling lies about him and this and that. I will not, there are things I will choose not to venture into.
Yeah.
But anybody, I challenge anybody to go and carry out a survey in Castries Southeast constituency. You see Guy Joseph don't mention the name of his opponent.
Yeah, I believe you. I believe
At
that.
no part, not at a meeting, not on the media, not anywhere. Champagne, you see what is going on in St. Lucia today?
Yeah.
Is perpetuated and fueled by the St. Lucia
Every
Labour
day.
Party.
Every
You see
day.
all this call of we will fight
Yeah,
you,
no peace.
the violence,
Yeah.
there'll be no peace, there'll be... You don't preach these things and think that it does not resonate. It resonates
does.
with people
Oh, yeah.
eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe my wife can tell you a bit about how she felt about the whole situation and how it has impacted us in terms of how to try and even make sense out of it.
Yeah. What was your emotion? What was your emotional feeling throughout that whole ordeal or after it?
Champagne. Confusion. Confusion. Like why does anything have to get to that point?
Yes.
While outside, after this whole thing, well, it wasn't ended. The couple left the church and they were standing outside. And I went and I stood near them and I'm saying, what really is the problem? I said, if there is a problem, the same way the two of you are standing here, I am here, guys there, why don't the four of us just meet and talk
Right.
it out? We're adults,
That's the most sensible
you know,
thing to do.
and if you are so aggrieved, then you call the person and you hash it out. So I was just totally surprised why something would have to get that far. And in the process, traumatizing the young people in the church, taking away that comfort that people have in their environment, which is what it was. For me, I don't know, aside from confusion, it was a sense of just uneasiness. And I know Guy very well. I wouldn't say that I know him completely, but a lot of the things that are being leveled at him, a lot of what they're saying is that is not him. He would not take somebody's pain for political gain. And still, what exactly did he say? What did he say? And I asked that question. I posed that question to Mrs. Henry or Mr. Henry, one of them, when we were the two of them were right there. And he said, they said. I said, which they?
Which
I
they?
said, no. Are you telling me that you're basing all of this on hearsay? On what somebody said?
Yeah.
I said, listen. I didn't say that to them at the moment, but I'm saying, listen, it's the politics. This is the season for politics in St. Lucia. Everybody has an opinion. It's like a nose.
Oh, that's right.
Everybody has
Smell
one.
something.
True, just making no sense, making lots of sense. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's an expert in everything. And so people say things. And to validate what they say, they will say, oh, so-and-so told me, or so-and-so said so. There is no proof of that. So if you're going to come with such a big show or so much force, you had better be certain that what you're saying is accurate.
Yes, I agree.
You know,
I agree.
again, like Mr. Joseph said, not taking away from the fact that, my God, this family is going through a lot. A lot. Nobody, like I said, wants to bury their child. People expect their children to bury them, you know. So I'm not taking away on the fact that that family is in pain. But don't tell me you are going to use that time of your pain to just unwarranted accusations at an innocent individual.
I'm trying to figure out what would give Mr. Henry the right. And, you know, the grief part, we all feel for the family. But Mr. Henry is not the only person that have lost a child. Now, I want to go down that road. A lot of people may not want to go. Mr. Henry is not the only person that are grieving after the loss of a family member. But you don't see people taking cutlasses and going around hurting other people or busting into people's property. You don't see them going to the neighbor's house and just busting into the neighbor's house. What would prompt Mr. Henry to go into a church, disrupting a church service? And he is one of the members of the SDA Academy. I'm trying to figure it out all day. I didn't say a word about it on my program today. I am not understanding the reasoning behind those actions. I'm not understanding it. And all of the people that are being so sympathetic to Mr. Henry, they could be sympathetic. I am sympathetic to him in regards to him losing his loved one, his son. But that still doesn't give you the right to bust into someone's property or into a church or anywhere and to get involved in some acts of violence. I will not accept that one. Never.
I watched it's posted on St. Lucia Times, so I guess I can make a reference to it. He said, surprisingly, he also received condolence messages from Guy Joseph via WhatsApp. Look, my wife is here. The two of us sat together, trying to figure out, what do you tell a family in this situation? What are the words? What are the choice of words that you can use to say something that can help ease the pain a little? Now, if I had not sent a message, I would be a heartless, wicked politician. I sent a message, and I am still a wicked and heartless politician because somebody told you I am using the message to gain what politics, what is there to gain in this?
What would you say to someone, a constituent, in regards to someone's death? What would you say? I'm trying to think. I mean, there are a lot of educated people in St. Lucia. What could you probably put together and say, well, vote for me because his son died? I mean, does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm trying to figure it out, but can't come up with anything. You want to do the audio, Mr. Joseph, now, or the video?
If they can do the audio for us.
Camera crew, you have the audio, please? Yeah. Okay. Is there anything I need to do up here? Number 10. Okay. All right. I have 9. You say it's 10? Yeah. All right. Okay, I got 10. We have it? Okay. Hello? Yeah, I have 10. Not yet. And so while we await an audio from, I think, Saturday's incident. So just bear with us 2 minutes.
Okay, so maybe Champagne, I can deal with another matter while they try to get the audio.
Okay.
And what I want to say to people is, I will not come inside here and tell a lie about any politician. I don't appreciate being lied on, but every day I deal with lies being told about me. That's the nature of
the
what
one
we
who
deal with. But when
to me,
I read on
and
St.
we're
Lucia
running.
Times,
I can't.
and I say, as a result, Mr. Henry recalled that he went to the SDA church to confront Guy Joseph. And he is quoted there saying, I went, I looked at the door, and I said, I am looking for Guy. The former SLP senator recalled. Henry said the church service stopped. He said, since the service stopped, I asked him, why? Why should you be doing this? Henry explained. Now, there were close to 40 people in the church. And every single member who was present can, without even thinking, know that this is not what happened. But you would come and do something like this, traumatize a whole church. Not me. I can deal with that. I think I'm a big enough man that I can take my blows. You would traumatize a whole church where a young person went into a panic attack. The other young people. There is a lady who is blind. Mm-hmm. She was sitting towards the corner where Mr. Henry's wife was ranting and raving and saying all of the things about me. Can you imagine that person who is not able to see what is happening and the commotion that she is hearing in the middle of the church service? Look here, Champagne, this is not about Guy Joseph. There are other places that we can fight our politics. There are sufficient places that we can go out there. And like I said, my issue is not even so much with Joachim Henry and what happened. When you look at the messages posted by every one of the Labour Party candidates, we stand with you, with this, with that. So every one of them has endorsed the actions being taken by somebody who is in a grieving process. So my wife knows that, and I told my colleagues today, I said to them, thank God none of you said a word before you all knew what transpired. Because you know what? If I had done that, I would expect my colleagues to chastise me and to put pressure on me and to tell me that is behavior that is unacceptable. Now, I don't expect them necessarily to do that in public, but neither would I expect them to condone these actions publicly. And you can go and read the comments. I have them here. They were quoting Bible verses. They were quoting things like, God threw out the thieves from his church. You know, the overturned the table of the money changers. Yeah. But I tell them, they can't come and misquote scripture to me, because I know the section of the church that was being used for the money changers. It was the section being used by the Gentiles. It was not the core temple area itself. But, you know, I'm not into the theology tonight. But when people who aspire to be leaders of this country, and remember, these are the leaders who stopped prayers in the cabinet of St. Lucia. These are the people who said that they are not going to pray in cabinet. So you expect they will have respect for the church? I can show you the comment. Mr. Henry's wife said, this is just a building.
Really? Are they not churchgoers? Are they not Adventists? No?
Mr. Champagne.
No, but
the lady is going through a lot of grief.
Mr. Joseph, and I have a little difficulty, and I'm not saying you're supposed to agree with me and anybody else. And everyone wants to continue to put it on grief. I am saying we all will sympathize with the people for the loss. But there have been thousands of people that have lost their children in the same way. You don't see them going to the neighbor's house and taking a TV and throwing it outside. You don't see them doing anything. These actions of Mr. Henry and his wife was unacceptable, and anyone could tell me about grief. For me, this is something that could have been handled in a different manner.
Of course.
Okay? So I don't understand when people tell me about the going through the grief. We had, if I may use the name of the gentleman that got killed in Texas last year or 2 years ago. This was more of a heinous set of death on the families of the people, his parents in St. Lucia. And they went through a hell of a bad time. You didn't see them walking into somebody's house in La Clary and doing something out of the way.
But while it's
I don't want to use that as an example, but I'm just trying to
yes.
bring up a point.
While it's true, I would hate to compare, because the thing is, people handle grief differently. And the grief process, there are stages of the grief process, and I cannot tell you what stage the Henry family is at, but all I know is that it is a difficult time for them. So I don't want to compare different losses, but
anyway.
Like you said, the actions of the Henry family, or the loss does not, or it should not. That should not have caused them to do what it is that they did. Because like we're saying, we're adults, we're the examples for others, and there is always a better way of handling the situation.
So, St. Lucia, we're trying to get an audio in there. So come real quick.
On Friday night, I had a dream, and when I woke up on Saturday morning, I was very worried. I explained the dream to my grandmother. She said to me, "Don't worry, it's probably nothing." But I said to her, "No, I'm really worried about this relative of mine." And in the dream, I'm seated at a place with two other people. I can't seem to remember who these persons are. We're eating, and as we're about to leave, two men enter the room, and they're about to rob the place. One of them walks up to me and mentions my name. So I ask, "How do you know my name?" And he says to me, "I know who you are. I know you're a Joseph. I know who your relative is." And the person shoots me in my head. Mind you, in the dream, I'm able to get up because it was my relative's previous security detail. He was the one who picked me off the ground and said to me, "Let's run." And we're running, but I can't keep up with him, and all I'm hearing in my head is guy, guy, guy. I went to church on Saturday morning, and as my relative took the stage, he had just led us into a season of prayer, and he was about to commence the lesson like he usually does every Saturday. And seconds before he begins, I hear this loud clapping at the door. And this man is walking in, and he's screaming at the top of his voice, "Where is Guy Joseph? Who is Guy Joseph? I need to see Guy Joseph." And he's searching around the congregation looking for Guy Joseph. Guy Joseph is on the stage in front of him. He can't seem to see Guy Joseph there. So one of the members questioned him and says, "If you don't know who Guy Joseph is, what are you doing here?" And he finally locates my relative on the stage, and he's proceeding to go up there, but everybody's getting up. I stand up and I'm walking towards, the crowd, because they're trying to prevent him from going after him on the stage. And I am shaking. I am trembling, and I am lost for words. My mind immediately, in that instant, pieces everything together. My mind didn't wait for me to make sense out of things. Instantly, in that moment, everything just came together. The dream started to make sense to me, and I never knew that I could have an anxiety attack at that extent, to that extent rather. And I was shaking. I couldn't speak. I couldn't feel myself standing up. When I tell you my heart dropped, because I knew the dream that I had, and I don't know what's going to happen next. That was the scariest part for me, not knowing what this man is going to do. And to add to the commotion, his wife is coming in and she is, arguing as well and saying a bunch of things, a bunch of words were thrown. My relative is on the stage, he's not saying anything. Everybody's just trying to prevent him from doing something, violent, holding him back from touching my relative, and he's pushing people away, and we're asking them to leave and saying, there's a better way to solve the situation. My relative even tells him, let's go outside and solve the situation, let's talk. But they just insist on just creating commotion in the church. This is the last place that I expected to witness a confrontation, and for me particularly, it was scary because of the dream I had, and I really did not know what was going to happen, and that was the scariest part. That rush of fear that just overtook me in that moment, it was unbelievable. I would never expect that I would be seated in church on a Saturday and that a confrontation of that magnitude would have taken place. It was a very scary situation for me to witness. Even after the event happened, I was shocked. This thing still constantly replays in my head. I am still trying to make sense out of this event, and I can't seem to wrap my head around it. It's constantly replaying in my head, and it was really just a terrible thing for me as a young person to have to witness in a church, and very traumatic, very, very traumatic experience for me.
Teenager recalling her experience going through this. This is a teenager in the church. You think tomorrow, next Saturday, when people go to church, how do you think the church members will feel? That the next time somebody walks into the church, how would we feel? And I'm supposed to sit here tonight, Champagne, and I'm supposed to be passive. I'm supposed to be, and in the midst of all of the grief, Mr. Henry has been on Yadi's program. I've heard Jubwa spoken about it. I have heard. They have made the rounds. They have put out all of their statements. The Labour Party, and I tell you, you do not associate with violent people and remain calm. And this Labour Party has been preaching violence, no peace. We will fight them. We will do this. They said all the places they would fight us. They didn't say the church. But now they have taken the fight to the church.
So I am going to go somewhere now, because on my program, when all of those statements were made, the ones in Dominica, the ones in V4, no peace, and I have called out the police department to make a statement on those statements, if that makes any sense. Because you have people inciting violence, people using those kinds of terms in a country, and nothing is done, not even a single question has been asked of those people. And this is where we are today. It is not because an individual is a politician that he should be given a free pass. He remains a citizen of this country. If it was Champagne that went over to Dominica and made a statement like that, I would have been called in for questioning. And all of those statements have gone unswept under the rug. Today, we have seen not a supporter, a candidate taking on things himself, going into a church, disrupting a church service. Are there not? Isn't there supposed to be charges being made?
There are laws for that. So
first of all,
we are waiting all of the various statements, that because it's not my statement. There were close to 40 people present there, and the people who engage him, because I did not engage him. And Champagne, it's not because I am good or I'm better than anybody else. I have a lot of people praying for me, and I thank these people. Because I believe I am here tonight, not because of anything Guy Joseph has done or any good that is in Guy Joseph. I believe that God protected both Mr. Henry and myself. And I asked my wife, she's there, she can tell you. I said, Wendy, you really think he did not see me? And Wendy said, but I told you, God prevented him from seeing you. And I said, I would wish to ask him personally if he really did not see me. Because while I believe in miracles, while I believe that these things happen, I don't think I'm good enough to even deserve that from God. So when people want to look and think of things the way that they want to, I know I'm a praying person. I know I depend a lot on God. I may not always come across like that to people, but I know what my relationship is. I know who I depend on. I know what I do. And it is very sad that this St. Lucia Labour Party, I'll give you another classic example. A walk was planned in my constituency. I was not part of it. I was asked to sponsor a few bottles of water. I didn't even know the details of the event. I agreed to sponsor the water. The constituents, in an effort to give me support, put my name on the flyer. I was not part of it. I was not part of the organizer, nothing. The Labour Party was up in arms about, if I don't know the protocols, Guy is planning a walk, and they knew all the rules pertaining to the protocols for COVID. Did you see what happened on the weekend with the Labour Party and a motorcade? But you see, these are the double standards. And these men, they have no regard for the law. They push violence. So, did I feel threatened in the church? I was very much threatened, Champion, because I was vulnerable. Mm-hmm. I would never walk away. I would walk away and leave my wife and other people exposed there. I would run to protect my life. And because I tell people, everybody out there can give their interpretation of what happened. But it is those who experience it, and it is those who are in the line of fire. I was the target. Okay? So even if there were other members there, I was the first target. And I'm telling you, if God had not intervened in this matter, I would not be seated here with you today, Andre. Champagne. And when I heard the members of the opposition, now I hear about, I didn't know Mr. Henry is a licensed firearm holder. All the people who are bad and all the people who are good and all the people who are what they are. Guy don't have a firearm. I've never wanted one. I've never been afraid to say that I don't want one. I've always said that, because at the end of the day, when you have guns, you depend on guns for your protection. When you don't have firearm to protect you, then you have to find other sources of protection. And my source of protection, I've always told people, is God. And I've always said, if God cannot protect me, and at least if for that level of faith and trust in God, that He shielded me, that a barrier came that I was not seen, I may never know what really happened. And I expect the attackers, they will tell you is Chembwa, and they will tell you is Zinzin, because that is what the Labour Party is good at. They attack you to the core. These are people who do not believe in God. There's no way, and I've said it, you cannot stop prayers and think that you can lead a country.
Mr. Minister, tonight I am not seeing Labour I'm not seeing flambeau. I am seeing a country that apparently has favoritism for some of its citizens. Because this gentleman has no right to walk into a church building to disrupt it and act in a sense of a useless act of violence. And nothing has been done. I don't know if St. Lucia today, Miss Wendy, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
When we have a society where people that are supposed to be emulated by other people that are supposed to be looked up to, conducting this type of behaviors, what does that say to the rest of the public? What does that say to our young people? You have someone that is aspiring to be a leader in the country, someone to represent people, and they are acting in this manner. What does that going to say to our young kids coming up?
Well, our children learn what they live. They don't learn what they do learn what they are taught, but it's more impressionable when they live it. And right now, what I'm seeing is that our older persons, those who are our leaders, are not setting the best example. We are creating prisons of our own making.
Amen. I agree. I agree.
You know, Champagne, if you look at all of the radical statements that have been made by the opposition, I mean, they want to dictate everything. They want to dictate when the Prime Minister called election. They want to dictate everything that is happening. All kinds of threats. This did not start today, you know. You remember when the Labour Party said this campaign is not going to be about Labour and Flambeau. This is about Labour and the Chasney family. You remember this? How can an election with 17 candidates be about one family?
But why is it that they have been made allowed to say these things, Mr. Minister, and nothing has been done? I'm having a problem with it. You have two parties. One, we had deceased Sir John Compton, God rest his soul. Feces were thrown on him from way back there, stones. People send all kinds of the same Labour Party, and it never stopped. We have a police department, and I'm not coming down on the police, but this thing is serious. It has to end somewhere. We have a political party that has done all the threats, that have gotten involved in acts of violence. They burned down a city, they burned bridges, they do all kinds of stuff. In today's,
they cut down bananas,
burn sheds. 2021. They're still getting involved in the same thing, and no one is being warned. I have a problem with that.
I mean, look at the statement made by Dr. Kenny Anthony about all the places we will fight you, we will do this, we will do that. When you make these kind of radical statements, when you incite people in that kind of way, you don't know when they are going to get triggered. Mm-hmm. You know how long I've been dealing with this thing? You know, a fella coming down on Express the Zeal was having a conversation, and he said, I'm going to join the church to be able to kill Guy Joseph. So he's going to come to be a member of the church. So pretend that he's a member of the church to get access to me.
Yeah.
Now, all of this is perpetuated by the St. Lucia Labour Party, you know. And I've been saying these things, and I've been telling people, if we do not condemn this kind of behavior as a country, it is going to escalate out of control, Champagne. Mm-hmm. It is not going to be a pleasant sight for us. Champagne, we must take some calls. Let me just... I did promise my people that they would get an hour to make calls tonight, but they'll get 20 minutes to make calls.
You know,
so let me appeal to our callers. Please make it short and to the point so we can accommodate as many persons as possible in the calls for tonight.
All right, Senator, so you could call us at 4560931 or 4850931, but I'm not in a good mood tonight, and that reason for that is we have a police department, and those statements is supposed to be looked into. It has been going on for too long. Hello, good evening.
Champagne, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Mr. Minister and your wife, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, Champagne.
Yes, sir.
This morning on Norbert Show, I said that Mr. Joseph has been under attack from day one. Okay, because the reason why I said that, Champion, is you've been hearing all sorts of things that they're saying and calling Mr. Joseph. And Mr. Joseph taking it easy. Now, Champion, I will tell you, you see this one on Saturday? That is a serious thing, Champion.
Very serious.
I want Mr. Joseph not to see it as lightly as it may seems to be. Right now, Mr. Joseph needs protection from the police. And Mr. Joseph, I will tell you, I am one of those who always pray for our ministers. I even prayed for the opposition to change the way they behave.
You're not going to see that, Ghana.
And the way they're reacting.
You're not going to see them changing. I'm telling you, you're not going to see that. That is stemmed from 1979 and before. So you're not going to see anything. It's like a curse.
I know, Champagne. But Champagne, prayers are very powerful.
We know that.
And I will tell you, Mr. Joseph, we will continue praying for you, sir.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this to you, caller. And while I fear God, I believe in God. We have been praying from 1979 and before that. Do the math on that. How many years that is? These people are not changing anything.
Champagne, let me tell you, prayer change things, brother. No matter
I know. I am not saying no. I am telling you, these people are at this thing for over 40 years. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, but Mr. Joseph, you and your wife, I will tell you, do not take that easy, like you believe it is. Because trust me, that is not something that is light. Because I know that this guy went to Jukbua, okay, and give his version.
Yeah.
All right, and Jukbua came on air, and the way it came out.
I give you one more minute, caller.
Yes, the way it came out at first is like he was owing somebody, and somebody came and do that. And I pushed my hands in fire and said, you know something? Guy does not owe anybody. Okay, I said that. So, Mr. Joseph, I want you to take it serious, and we are praying for you, sir.
Thanks a lot, caller. And this is someone that is supposed to be grieving, have made appearances on 2 talk shows. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Good evening, Champagne. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We have 3 minutes and caller tonight.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Minister Guy Joseph.
Good evening.
Wendy. This is Ian Colton, and I'm listening to the program from all over in the USA. Mr. Minister, you made a point, and I agree with you. It's in the Labour Party's DNA to be violent, to be aggressive, to be abrasive, and to be constantly breaking the law. When you heard the statements coming out from Ernest Hiller's mouth that this is going to be the most nastiest elections, that is scary. When you saw Kenya and Tini saying we're going to fight them in the parliament, we're going to fight them on the streets, now they're fighting people in church, that is scary. But you know what is more scary? When I saw that Star article about Joachim Henry's behavior in the church, and I condemn it on social media, the SLP hacks attacked me personally, my family, my children. But I'm using this forum to put them on notice, those SLP hacks. They're using fake profiles. I know who you are. And my attorneys is looking at your posts. And you will answer to the courts for your dirty politics. Ian Cauldron, I'm saying this tonight. I'm putting you all on notice. We as UWPs, we have to stand up and fight that Labour Party because they have a history of being violent. And Champagne, you alluded to it from 1979. It's in their DNA.
They'll never stop.
So, Mr. Minister,
the law is the one
they will never stop.
All right.
So, Mr. Minister, just keep up the good work and stay focused and protect yourself. God is with you.
Thanks a lot, Connor. Special good evening to you. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to Honorable Guy Joseph.
You're speaking to him, sir. He's right there.
Hello.
Go right ahead, sir. Mr. Joseph can hear you.
Guy, Honorable Guy Joseph. Good evening.
Good evening.
I find this incident, and Champagne cuts me off all the time.
Mr. Mondesi, you're not permitted to call this radio station. We have had that. No. You call Mr. Joseph tomorrow. Tonight I'm not even in a good mood, so I will not be able to engage you tonight, Mr. I'm sorry. Call Mr. Joseph. Call Mr. Joseph on his phone tomorrow. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Champagne.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Your beautiful wife.
Good evening.
As believers of the Word of God, you know that the words declare, judgment shall begin in the house of the Lord. So I am saying to you, you are covered under the blood. Your trust, your confidence is in the Lord. He is fighting your battle. And remember, no weapon that form against you shall prosper. Not only you and to your wife. But I say to you that when you look at the Labour Party on the whole, these are men who does not obey the law. Could you imagine, and you talk about the firearm, that Mr. Joachim said, he took his firearm and he brought it for Philip Pierre. So what I'm saying is that if you are a licensed holder of firearm, nobody else is supposed to carry your firearm. You are the only one who's supposed to carry your firearm. By taking it, you can see that these guys are breaking the laws. They're doing what they want. They feel that they're above the law. But I'm saying that the battle is not yours, it's the Lord. God is going to fight our battle. And we will be victorious.
Amen.
So my encouragement to you, my brother, is to be strong. And, fight harder, because the devil comes to kill, steal, and to destroy.
Amen.
But in Jesus' name, you are under the blood. Our prayers are together.
All right.
God bless you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
What is the Lord doing about all these things? This is why I'm upset tonight. What is the Lord doing about all of those statements? What is the Lord doing about them? Special good evening to you. Hello. Good evening.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Good night.
Yes, good night. I want to say good night to the Joseph family.
Good night.
Good evening.
Yes. Boss, I want to say you have to be real careful, because I heard Claudius Francis saying on Yadi's show that he went and collected the firearm from Joachim. If the firearm was not used, or if it was not present with him, there is no reason why you should go at a man's home and take his weapon if he did not have it in church. Okay? There is no reason. No law gives you permission to go at a man's home. You're not a police. You're not the commissioner to go at a man's home and take his weapon just because the political leader said to go for his weapon.
So, caller, basically what that is telling you,
that it was present. It was part of the evidence.
Amen.
It was present.
Well, caller,
not present, but
I will say again.
Yeah, you said you did not see.
We did not see any weapon, but there are different places that people can conceal their weapon on them. My bigger concern is while the Labour Party, including Philip J. Pierre, while they were posting things on social media in support of Mr. Henry, why haven't they told St. Lucians why they felt it was necessary
for him to come out?
What is it that they know that the rest of St. Lucia do not know about the situation that would necessitate taking a firearm away? Because a firearm is a very serious responsibility.
It is.
And for the firearm to have passed, so why didn't the leader of the opposition call the police or call if you felt? Because that is why I told people I felt very vulnerable, because the only safe haven that I feel I have is in church. And to have gone to church and to have had to put up with that, and people, and then you sit by. What could I have said that could have caused a man to want to come and fight with me in church?
And let me tell you, Mr.
A
Joseph,
church go on at that.
like you said, it was a miracle. If not, the same thing that happened. Yeah.
Go ahead, caller. You have a few more, 20
Yes,
more
and let me
seconds.
tell you, you could say it's a miracle for sure, because if it wasn't a miracle, the same thing that happened to the Catholic Church and the burning of the church is the same thing that would have happened to you in that church that on that Saturday morning.
All right. Thanks a lot,
But you
caller.
could say it was a miracle for sure. The
All
same
right.
thing would have happened, and
Yeah.
worse.
Have a good
Yes.
evening. All right.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right. Beautiful. Hello. Good evening. Hello. 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 Good evening.
Slapancy.
Hello.
Champagne, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
You might be very young. We got Stones Lapancy.
I
We
probably
got
look
Stones
young, but I'm-
Mansion, Daisy Corner.
Yes, sir. I know all of it. Know all of it.
You know all of it?
I know all of it.
I don't think that this 2021 we're going to still stay there and say we're peaceful and have won elections based on that threats.
Okay.
On those threats.
Okay. Where is the law on all of this, caller?
Okay.
That is what I'm asking. Where is the law on all of
Well,
this? The law is
You
not supposed
see,
to be
they're
for
going
one
to
set of
always
people.
blame us Champagne because they're saying that we that's in power we're supposed to choose our chief of police to take handle of it. Now Champagne, we're tired of that.
Okay. All right.
We're
Where's the
tired
law?
of that. We had enough of that. We can't let that end up in churches now.
All right.
You know,
Okay.
caller, and you know what is
Champagne.
sad.
Thanks a lot.
Let me say here, Mr. Henry is going through his stressful situation. So it can the same be said for Ernest Hilaire, Philip J. Pierre, and other members of the St. Lucia Labour Party? Are they not to be the sensible ones? Have we heard one word of apology from them? One word of condemnation of the action that is taken?
You're not
One
gonna-
step that... So
Not going ahead.
so what you are seeing is a perpetuation. So I understand. Mr. Henry is going through a difficult
Hold on 1 minute,
situation.
caller.
But at the same time, why can't the other leaders of the organization come out and say, look here, let us find a better way to resolve this problem? Because I'm not the only one affected. Every worshipper in the church on that day now, you see the part of it that people are not looking at. You see, if the reaction was different, if something had happened to Mr. Henry when he entered into the church, everybody would be condemning the church today.
Right.
Everybody would be saying, Guy Joseph, make people do this
Amen.
and do that in the
Exactly.
church.
Exactly.
That would have been the outcry of the Labour Party. And then the church would get blamed. So here you are peacefully in your home church, worshiping. Your space is invaded by a situation that you did not call for. And I am still asking them, please put out what Guy Joseph said or did that warranted that attack on the Forestier Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Thanks for holding, caller. Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Joseph and Mistress Joseph.
Good evening.
Yeah, I feel the UWP party has tolerated too much from these guys, man. It's high time that we need to put lava on this guy, man. Make an example out of him, so St. Lucians can realize who we select as our reps in the near future.
Yeah, caller, thanks a lot. All of us in St. Lucia should not tolerate none of what happened there on Saturday. Neither UWP nor Labour. No one should accept what happened there, but I'm still calling for the law in all of those statements that have been made. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, man.
Is this a program? I'm not hearing.
You are on the program, yes.
Okay. Good evening to Mr. Joseph and his wife.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sorry that you had to go through this. But one of the things I would like to tell the two of you, you pray every day for protection. You saw protection. You pray every day that God will help you, guide you, protect you, lead you. He showed it to you. That is proof that our God survives. He is alive and he is with us.
Amen.
He is with you. And so you continue focusing on what you have to do for God and for our people. What you saw in that church, St. Lucians will know that when you are in God, God causes miracles to happen. People don't believe in miracles. It still takes place. Sometimes we take it as little things, but that was a big thing that happened in that church. That was a big thing that happened in the church. It made you realize that you have to expect anything at any time.
Amen.
Sometimes we just stay there and we say, oh, God is coming and God is coming. Sometimes when you least expect it, he is there.
Yeah.
So we have to be prepared all the time. We pray all the time for certain things. But when God sends it, we jump. We were unawares. But he is there. God was there with you.
That's right.
The gentleman was looking at, probably an angel was standing in front of you. He didn't see you. You remember the story about the donkey? People don't believe that story, but I believe it. Let me tell you, we take God for granted. And we tend to believe that he can do little things, but he can do big things in little ways.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, you were protected. That's one. Two, I want St. Lucia to know that a lot of us has given up on God. A lot of us, some of us, we just go to church just for going to church sake. Some of us, we just say, we speak and we say blessing, and we don't even pray, some of us. But we will realize from this that God is alive, and we still have to continue rallying in the Father. Because what is happening in St. Vincent, what is happening around us, the devil is around to it.
Amen.
And you have to be prepared for him. We have to put on that armor of God. And you had that armor, brother. You had that crown around you, and you're not aware of it. And they laugh. Persons will laugh, and persons will tell you all kinds of nonsense. But when you're in God, you're in the right place. So don't be afraid.
Caller, we still have a country of law.
Amen.
Okay?
But we also have to make sure that the law is put in
into full effect.
Right, into full effect.
Not for some.
Right, not for some, but
and
for
then
all.
the others go free.
Now the third thing I wanted to say is
I give you 40 more seconds, caller. We have
one more thing. I would like to see the United Workers' Party ministers rally around you. Don't just sit down in little quarters and talk. Let us put you together. Everybody comes together to stand behind you, to stand with you, because it's you always at the forefront taking bullets, and persons are not getting. I think everybody right now has to come together. And I am also talking to the St. Lucia Labour Party. St. Lucia Labour Party, you are in a competition now with the United Workers' Party. Do the right thing. Yeah. Continue doing the right thing. It's not only red and yellow, but we are St. Lucians, and we have to be able to live together after elections. Let's do the right things. Both United Workers' Party and SLP, let us do the right things.
Thanks a lot, caller. Doing the right thing is a hard task for the Labour Party. A huge task.
I was just looking for the comment made by, I would have read the comment made by Ernest Hill tonight to show what they stand with. But for some reason, I have so many messages on my phone, right. I cannot get it.
Okay. Hello, good evening. Thanks for holding.
Yes.
Good evening.
Yes, I got cut off a few minutes ago.
That's okay, sir. We have a lot of calls coming.
I want to say that there is no way this gentleman should have walked out of the church on Saturday.
He should not have walked out?
No, he should not have been able, he should have been carried out.
Well.
Yes. One of the reasons I could never be a fireman is that my approach should be to fight fire with hotter fire. That's my way of handling it. Okay?
Yeah. I share your frustration,
walked out of that.
I share your frustration because I am not in a good mood tonight, I'm telling you. And me not being in a good mood is because over 40 years, one political party has been dominating the other one, and the other one is doing nothing about it. And because we are nice, calm, modest people, we have been taken advantage of. Not that we are cowards. I want the law to step in, because if it doesn't, we will rebel. And I'm not ashamed to say tonight, you could call Champagne whatever you want. The law needs to step in those incidents, those acts of violence, those statements. If it doesn't, we will not be standing by the wayside like sitting ducks.
Champagne, through you and the caller.
Yes.
Caller.
Okay, caller, thanks a lot.
No, leave the caller.
Oh, okay, hold on. Stay on the
just
line, caller.
permit me. So, Ernest Hiller post, Brother Joachim Henry, I stand with you and your family during your trying times. I further make a call to all St. Lucians to condemn the mudslinging and insults by his political opponent towards the Henry family during this time of grief. We are all human beings, and we ought to be considerate and compassionate of others. If we can apply that on both sides, how much have they said about me? That is a man who continues to say that I am under investigation in the US. They have leveled every possible accusation at me, and I am calling on them. Reveal to St. Lucians how my condolence message was used for political gain, because that seemed to be what the discussion has become. And I want them to show what I have done or what I have said at this point that have not been said prior to the unfortunate incident or tragedy that the Joachim family is facing today. I want them to show one thing that I have said that would trigger that.
All right, caller, you still there?
Mr. Minister, there is nothing they can through. There is absolutely nothing. Those people do not know the truth. You name the name there, Ernest Hiller. To date, Ernest Hiller has not told St. Lucians about the Jufari affair.
Caller, this man, that name you just mentioned, the man left his country, went over to a foreign country and blackmailed the people of his country. You should not even mention this guy's name. This guy have no reason to make any statement. No statement at all in regards to anything. No statement at all. This guy, and he's, in a few weeks' time, we'll find out. We'll see how many statements he'll be making. Don't worry. Time is coming.
Mr. Joseph, we stand with you.
All right, caller. Thanks a lot.
We stand with you. We support you.
All right. Have a good evening. This is really, really ridiculous. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yes, yes, sir. Good evening to Mr. Joseph and his wife.
Yes.
Listen, I don't even want to talk politics here, whether it is the Labour Party or the United Workers' Party. But what I have recognized, what Mr. Henry did, was we would call that in medicine as a post-traumatic stress disorder situation. And we have seen, let us say, like in the United States, somebody lost their job and they go and they shoot down all of their colleagues. Or we've seen with school children, certain things happening in the school and certain people have been shot. Now, that situation could have escalated. What I want Mr. Joseph to do as a 7 days Adventist, both he and Mr. Henry, or in other words, approach the elders, get some counselor or the counselors or psychiatrists, Dr. Bray and so on, and deal with that situation. Because that thing can escalate. It can escalate and that can be real. You understand? The people, when they're faced with a level of stress, they can react. Now, other colleagues might be telling him, okay, well, I support you in this and that kind of thing. But that is a real situation that the family is dealing with. And I think if Mr. Henry was my family, I would have asked him to step aside from politics for now and deal with the family situation or with his grief right now.
All right, Colin, thanks a lot.
But dealing with the politics.
Caller,
And
can I engage you for a minute, caller?
Yes, Mr. Joseph.
So that I am in a very difficult catch-22 situation. I send condolences. Look at how it is being used.
Yeah, okay. I understand
no,
that.
just
Hear him out, caller.
just permit me to elaborate. My wife offered for us to sit and have a discussion.
Okay.
That was refused. Okay. I called the pastor. Before I spoke to anybody else. So while they were out there making statements, because yes, I understand what people are saying, but if in a moment of grief, it caused you to do something that you would not normally do, you cannot turn around and try to justify it and make it look like I did something. So the whole Labour Party is trying to switch this thing that they have done onto me.
No,
I mean, how do... So
listen to that, Mr. Joseph. Not only you, but everybody in the church must have been traumatized. You understand me? What Mr. Henry did is not normal, all right?
It's not normal,
As I said, that should be dealt with in the church. Maybe you cannot directly think, but the elders in the church should seek some professional help here, and even the Yeast Party should have him step aside from politics right now and deal with his family grief. You understand me? Because that can just escalate. All right?
All right, point accepted, caller. Beautiful.
So the fact is now, you will have to deal with it. You are dealing with it in a political sense, and it's hurting you and so on. But what if Mr. Henry had discharged the firearm? He would be arrested. That would have been a whole. It would just turn into a very ugly situation.
We would have had a dead minister today's caller.
Yes, it would turn into an ugly situation. And they have people who have gone through stress, have gone through grief. Sudden death is not an easy thing. I can tell you that.
Do you know of any other person, caller? Do you know of any other person that gone through that stress and they acted in that manner?
Well,
I'm asking you. Do you know of any other person?
I'm a medical individual. I know.
Okay.
I know people who have killed their whole family.
That is true. It has happened.
What I mean? So.
And then the next day, you end up on two talk show hosts and two talk show programs.
Listen, as I said, let us go beyond the politics and let us look at it from a humanitarian kind of thing.
But caller, they have not caller, and I will say there's a lot more information on this that will come out in the coming days, because sometimes when we say things, people don't understand the magnitude. And I'm not taking anything away from Mr. Henry's grief and his difficulty and his challenge.
As the bigger person here, what y'all can deal with that at the level of the church.
Yes, but if I got a bullet to the head on Saturday, I would not be the bigger person.
That's right. You would be the dead person.
I would be the dead person.
That is why I call, because I know situations that can lead to these kinds of things. So that is why I'm saying, since you're like from the same denomination, you all should sit the pastors like counselors and you know.
But what I'm trying to ask is, what did I do? Or I've been asking.
No. Let me tell you something. When people have PTSD, you could do the simplest thing and it can trigger.
But you are telling me that I need a counselor, and I'm asking.
But that happened. All of you all in the church. It was not a situation. It was not a situation.
Oh, you're talking about. I understand. I understand the situation.
Everybody who was present there needed to sit for counsel.
All right, call. I give you 30 more seconds.
they need to sit for councillor.
All right. Thanks a lot,
And
caller.
look at that very seriously.
All right. Have a great evening.
Yeah.
And always be the bigger person. The Honorable Alan Shastney have extended his hand in friendship to Dr. Anthony on 4 occasions, and he have refused him on every occasion. Hello, good evening. Thanks for holding. Hello. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yes, good evening.
We ending in 5 minutes, Champagne. And this
Champagne.
time we have a timekeeper.
Yes, go ahead, caller. Go ahead.
Mr. Joseph, good evening.
Good evening.
The question, not the question, I read, and you just asked the question, what did you do? What did you say? I read on Joaquin's statement that the exchange between the message, your WhatsApp messages, you are using that, going around showing people and saying that you all are friends. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So the question everybody was, did you do that?
Why would I do that, caller? To show people.
Because
hold on, listen to me. People come to me and they ask me, have you...
So what's wrong with that?
What is your relationship?
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
What is your relationship with Joachim? Have you expressed your condolences? And I said, yes, I did it in Parliament. I sent him a text message. Yes, I spoke about it right here on the program.
Exactly.
But going and show people that look here, what is that? And caller, even if I said I sent him a text message, and somebody comes to me and tell me, y'all fellas does just say things on the radio, I don't think you should you send any mail, because like politicians putting on a show. And if I decided, and I'm not saying that happened, I'm just giving a hypothetical situation, and I show, well, look here, I sent, this is the message that I sent Mr. Henry. Is there something wrong with that? I thought that
there's nothing wrong.
I thought that trying to exercise a cordial relationship among politicians is what we have been advocating. And Mr. Henry can say we are not friends. From my recollection, my days at Montec was when I think I first met Mr. Henry. We've known each other in church for a number of years. He worked at SSDF. I was a minister of government. We've had interactions. When he was a senator, and I can tell you these things because we had a long chat downstairs. I went to the leader of the opposition. I said to Philip, I said, Mr. Pierre, Mr. Henry is leader of government business. You all have the man fighting to be the candidate. You all have people challenging him to be the candidate. I said, Mr. Henry, if you want to be the candidate, my people want to support you. Just tell me if you're going in a runoff. I mean, we talk. So I'm not pretending. And there were witnesses to the conversations. So if we're going to have conversations, I am not vexed. You saw me in conversations with Dr. Kenny Anthony. What did you see they posted on the whole? I speak to every single member of the opposition.
Yeah,
because I don't see opposition members as enemies. We may be opponents in our political views, but we see eye to eye with each other.
Well, you don't see them as enemies, but they see you as an enemy. I can tell you that. They're not your friends.
The member for library as your good friend.
Yeah. Exactly.
You always do that. So I don't, and that is the basis of what, from what I gather, Mr. Henry wants to make his big
tonight.
The fact that you use that text message and then you say that you're all friends. That's basically.
Tonight you would have noticed my demeanor, and I'm going to be raw as I can get. The SLP is not accepting UWP as their friends. Okay, you're pas Jean. They are not your friends. Even if the minister speaks with them in Parliament, you're pas Jean. They are not your friends. They have admitted that. The Dr. Anthony has said that openly. They are not your friends. So they will do anything for that. They are not my friends.
Rick can bear me out on this. Caller, just permit me to say this.
Hold on a minute.
After my first debate in Parliament in 2007, I walked outside. The lounge was still upstairs. Rick was sitting on the chair by where the security is to go upstairs, and Dr. Anthony was sitting on the edge. I stretched my hand and I shook Rick's hand, and I stretched my hand to Dr. Kenny Anthony. He had spoken and then I spoke. He said, after all what you said there, you still want to shake my hand?
That's how they are.
And he was not shaking my hand.
No.
And then Rick said, I don't worry. I was just telling Dr. Anthony, the two of you are the best speakers. And then he reluctantly shook my hand. I understand that. So when you see he turned his back on Prime Minister Shasney, that's the nature of the Labour Party. Right. So now that I have learned that when something happens, be careful that you don't send condolences so people, because I was not the one who came by myself who came up with the message. My wife and I sat down there trying to think of what we say to the family in the situation, and look at how this thing has turned around. If I did not send it, then I am the worst person.
Yeah.
So it's a no-win situation for me.
Yeah. All right, caller, thanks a lot.
They just out to get you. They just out to get you, guy. That's it. But God is good, my brother.
One more, two more, three, how many more?
All right, good night.
One more. All right, I've gotten instructions, St. Lucia, that we're going to do just one more call, and the phones will lighten up. Special good evening to you. You're our final caller for the evening. Hello.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
I want to say this, that I don't think there is any excuse for the behavior of somebody that we hold in high regard in society. I've heard people say that it's probably because of his grief, and we understand that that could play a part. But then if we are going to use that to justify a reaction,
thank you, caller.
Is it also the case that we're going to say, well, the guy who beat down his wife was beaten down by his father? So I want to make that clear.
Let me give you the bell on that, caller. I'll give you the bell on that.
There is this other aspect that I think we need to be very careful about. While the United Workers' Party and its supporters are saying, and I'm agreeing, that we should not condone, we should not support the behavior of Joachim Henry, in the same breath, I am feeling that the violence is still being incited, because I think it's wrong for a general and broad conclusion to be drawn that the Labour Party infuse their supporters to create violence. I think that is a general statement, and neither the Labour Party, and the Labour Party shouldn't say it about the United Workers' Party either. Of course, you have a bunch of people, a parent has 5 children, and one of them maybe have taken a different road. Does that mean that it's because that parent has led her children to be that way?
So, caller, can I say something to you, please? Can I say something?
Go ahead.
They have also displayed their actions in that regard as well. And we have seen it over the years. It's not just them. Listen to me, caller. They're not just saying those things of incites of violence. They have been putting it into action over the years.
Do we realize that there is something called the self-fulfilling prophecy? And do you realize now that if there are 10 persons who are part of a particular political party, and you say the United Workers' Party, they're aggressive, they this, they that, how slighted do you make the other persons who are party of who are part of that party feel when you make these general statements?
So the
because
10.
For example, I heard Honorable Guy say a while ago, and I heard it before. I heard Honorable Sarah Flood say it before, that the Labour Party under the administration of Dr. Kenny Anthony stopped prayer in cabinet. Now, I'm in no position to say whether that's true or not. But then how do you now use that statement to generalize? But we are aware that they go to church, they pray, there are meetings that they officiate, that prayer is said. So is that a correct statement to generalize the entire party for? When people tell you that Alan Chasney is whatever, and then they tell you that all of his supporters, is that fair?
The only thing I could tell you about the United Workers' Party, and you brought up an example, if 10 persons are violent of the United Workers' Party, that party itself will condemn whatever they did. And the Labour Party does, listen, The Labour, hold on, caller, the Labour Party, they operators had made statements like, we're going to put a bomb under the Prime Minister's seat. We're going to put a bomb under the Honourable Guy Joseph's seat. Have you ever heard any hierarchy of the Labour Party condemn those statements?
Let me tell you this. There are things that the supporters of the Labour Party have said and done, and persons in the hierarchy of the party have come out to condemn it.
I have not heard it.
There are things that supporters of the United Workers' Party have said and done, and members of the hierarchy of the United Workers' Party have come to condemn it. In a similar fashion, there are things that members and supporters, and that's what makes it worse. Sometimes the people who say the things are not card-bearing or not financial members of the party. They're simply supporters.
Yeah.
How do these political organizations now, how do they prevent persons who are not even, so it's not a case of where you can dismember them because they're a member. They're simply supporters.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing what we're saying that needs to be done?
So caller, while I agree with a lot of the statements that you are making, I'm just trying to understand in relation to the discussion tonight and what has transpired. If you can narrow, if you look at what transpired in the church, the trauma, how everybody was impacted. Have you seen one word from the hierarchy of the Labour Party? And I can show you all the texts that have been quoted and misquoted, and all of the things that they have said, all of the spin that has been given to this thing. Wrong is wrong, and right is right. And I am here today. I may not be here tomorrow, but we are setting a dangerous precedent in church.
Amen.
And that is the one place that generally people, the average man on the street, whether he's an alcoholic, he's a criminal, he's a vagabond, whatever he is, he respects the house of God. He respects the place where people worship. And when a political party and its operatives will try to belittle, we are setting a very, very dangerous precedent for this country. So you know what message we are sending there? If we do not outrightly on both sides condemn this action, we are saying to the average man on the street, you have a problem with a man, if he is in church, go and take him there. Look at when the wardens went to the cathedral to enforce the law of the mass. Look at the public reaction. This is the house of worship.
Right.
Although all the rules are stipulated, Mr. Henry burst into the church, did not follow one of the protocols to be sanitized, to be checked. People had to be surrounding him. Suppose somebody had COVID in the process. How many people was exposed at that point in time? These are not normal times.
I agree with you, and I will say even further that the fact that we are even making big the fact that it happened in the church is not even significant. Whether it had happened on the street, whether it had happened on the market, it should not have happened.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to say this. But then let me just ask one question, and the question is really directed to the fact that we're making the assumption here that the hierarchy of the political parties usually condemn the things that their members and their supporters do.
When last did you hear? Tell me one of what the Labour Party has condemned, caller. I'm happy.
No,
serious. I would like for you to tell me. Hold on, caller. Hold on. I would like for you to remind St. Lucians and the people all around the world when last you heard the Labour Party condemn one of those statements.
I think I started asking a question, so if I can ask the question, perhaps we could actually get to that answer.
Yeah. All right, caller. Go ahead.
Some time ago, when Senator Mary Francis made the comment at that funeral that crime sat at the top and crime whatever, and a lot of people were calling for for the United Workers Party to perhaps condemn what she said and stand up against it and say, well, that was her personal words and that was not whatever, whatever. But that was not done. That was not done. And so I'm saying this to say that I think sometimes our political leaders, the persons in the hierarchy that we as young people look up to, there are times when they do not do the things that we expect them to do. But I'm saying all of this to say that it should be across the board.
Yeah.
It should be something that's done across the board. We cannot expect better from people if we do not give better ourselves.
Charity begins
Thanks a
at
lot,
home,
Colin.
my dear.
Thanks a lot.
So as far as I can tell you, I am seeing this is a cop out from you in terms of dealing with the reality. Because hold on, allow me to say I have listened to you. I am saying to you that we find convenience at particular times to highlight and to divert attention from the true issue. And so all I am saying to you is that even if nobody else does it, if one person does it, they have done the right thing. It's never about the majority when it comes to doing the right thing.
And we agree to that.
So
no matter who it is, no matter who the person is and what thing the person was in society, if it's wrong, we have to come out and call the wrong.
All right.
But we also have to gain our respect from being able to be honest about calling the wrong, whether it's the cat or whether it's the dog. And
Thanks a lot, caller. Thank you very much. You have made a great contribution. Thank you.
Better if we do it across the board, and we have to do that because we have to set examples.
All right. Beautiful. Thanks a lot, caller. We had a gentleman on hold for such a long time. The final call. Good night. Hello? Hello? Okay, so he left. All right, so we have come to the end of our phone-in period. Mr. Minister, any last words? Because we do have a lot of calls still coming in, but I know maybe next Monday.
I would allow Wendy to give some remarks.
Oh, the gentleman is still there.
Let's
yeah, he's still there.
Let's hear him.
Hello, good evening, sir. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, Champagne. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Good, thanks.
Can you hear me, Champagne?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me say good night to the minister, Minister
Good
Guy
night.
and his wife.
Good evening.
Minister Guy, I'm going to refer to you as Brother Guy tonight, and I'm going to say to you that I am so sorry to hear what transpired on Sabbath. And I want to send a message out to these guys who are behaving in that manner, that they are offending every Christian in this country, every church-going person in this country. They better come out and condemn this action by Mr. Henry. Otherwise, they will have to suffer the consequences. Because when you desecrate the house of God, you are offending every single Christian, every single worshipper in the country. Not just one Adventist church, but every denomination, as long as you're a worshiper of God.
But caller, here's the thing: the individual is also a churchgoer of the SDA church.
Exactly.
So he ought to know better.
This is desecration at the maximum. It is, I am thankful that God protected Brother Guy.
Yeah.
And he has to be grateful, and he has to be, he has to give praise to the Lord for protecting him and his wife and the church.
And caller, if I am permitted to say, I don't think it's just me that's deserving of these mercies from God. I think God protected Mr. Henry as much as he protected
me. I believe that.
And his family, because I believe that even if we fall out and we do things that we should not do, God is still merciful and God is still loving. Because if anything had happened, then how much more grief would the Henry family be in? And how much grief would my family be in today? So I believe that this is not just for Guy Joseph. This was not about Guy Joseph. This is about God and showing his love and his mercy and his compassion even when we are not deserving, when we are the least. Maybe Joachim and myself would have been the least deserving of God's mercies. But for the sake of other people, I believe that God intervened to protect me and to protect him.
Caller, there's something that has not been talked about. Who was the aggressor? Was it Guy Joseph? Was never the aggressor. Guy Joseph had no knowledge of what was going to happen. The aggressor, everyone seemed to be forgetting about the aggressor. Someone came storming through a church.
I think people understand that, you know. I think people understand
And
that.
they make those kinds of statements. I have not read one because I don't read those comments.
There will be people who will try to twist everything around. We have all kinds of people in the world. But I am saying that the members of the Labour Party, the hierarchy, the leader of the opposition and so on, must come out and apologize to St. Lucia and the Christian community for the action of Mr. Henry.
And Mr. Henry should be disfellowshipped from the SDA Church. He should be disfellowshipped, and the people of Castries Southeast, the people of Castries Southeast should remember that on the day of elections, not one single vote for this man. I'm really upset about this thing tonight. No, serious. Because this thing has been going on for too long in this country, and only one side, one political party keep abusing another side. And this is the Labour Party from all the way back of 1979 and before. Over 40 years being abusive to the UWP, and nothing has been done about it. It has to stop somewhere. Thanks a lot, caller. Have a good night.
Yeah, but again, we do not promote violence because...
Well, caller, we have been waiting for the law. I am not promoting violence. I'm never going to promote violence. I am asking for the law of the land. Hold on, caller. I am asking for the law of the land to intervene. It is from 1979. The law have not been doing anything about it. They should start today. You see all I'm saying? Thanks a lot, caller. Have a good night. And this is insane. We have more calls, but that was our final call for the night, St. Lucia. St. Lucia, I am not pleased tonight. We have been waiting for the law from 1979 to intervene with all those actions, sending feces on Sir John, saying stone. I was at a meeting at Menadil with Romanus Nantico, and someone threw a stone after Romanus Nantico, and it did not hit him, it hit Miss Riti right there in the chest, and she just fell. Almost killed that lady with a stone. I was standing right next to Miss Riti. That thing has been going on for too long. The law has to intervene and put an end to this thing. Any last words, Mrs. Joseph?
Well, I was just saying, in keeping with what the last caller was talking about, and even the previous one, I'm looking back at the situation, and I am remembering just how the demeanor of Mr. Joseph during that time.
Mm-hmm.
The Guy Joseph that I know, how would I have described him before? He doesn't back down. He wouldn't back down to a challenge. And again, that is why, like the lady who called earlier said, the mercies of God. I saw the hand of my God restrain my husband. Restrain. To the point where somebody a while ago, one of the family members sent a message to my phone, and he said, this is not the guy that I know. The guy that I know would welcome the challenge.
Yeah.
But again, God sees further than we can see. And he saw that whatever the possibilities were, whatever that could have ensued, would not be good for either party. And so he used his power to restrain him and to keep him under subjection for the time being. And I am so grateful, I am so thankful. Like the caller said, in everything you look for the positives and you give thanks. And so I give thanks to God for that. And like Guy said a while ago, also giving thanks that Mr. Henry was spared through all of this as well. Because that is not what we're looking for.
No, definitely not. Thanks a lot, Mrs. Joseph.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for being here with me tonight. I know it takes a lot for you to be on these programs. Champagne, with the two of us, Wendy and myself, have gone through a lot in this political arena.
Telling me I would
And she always tells me, when are you making your exit from this? It's been a tough battle. It's not been easy for the two of us. Even a lot of the things that have gone on.
Oh, sorry, they said they were supposed to play a video. I almost missed
No,
it.
I would spare that video tonight and
Okay.
maybe do it at some subsequent time.
Okay.
I don't want to add any more to Mr. Joachim's situation. And whether the family accepts that or not, my heart still goes out to them. For whatever it's worth, I think time will tell where I stand and where my heart is on everything. But I was saying, Champagne, politics has not been easy for me in St. Lucia. I have been attacked on every side by the Labour Party from every angle. And when they cannot get me, I have been bullied in the House of Parliament, from speaker to leaders to members to everybody. I've been called every name.
Every name.
And you know, time will permit us. And I want anybody to go and carry out a survey in Castries Southeast. They can start from tomorrow and find out how nasty the campaign of the St. Lucia Labour Party has been. You know, one of my canvassers went out and she told me, they know I'm your canvasser. I'm doing house to house with the voters list for you. And somebody from the Labour Party came to me and said to me, I want you to look me in the eye. Guy Joseph is a thief. How can you vote for him? I mean, the kind of things that are being said about me. You know, I've been accused of stealing. They've made songs about me. They've included my mother's name. I mean, there's not one thing you can imagine this Labour Party has not done. And that's why I told the caller earlier, you know, don't try and pacify things conveniently. Because when the shoe is on the other foot, they always find a way to come and say, let's be neutral. Let's deal with this thing fair and square. But as soon as it switches in their favor, they sing a different song. I endure all of that. I don't come and cry to people to sympathize with me. I take my blows like a man. I am the one who chose to be here.
Yes, sir.
Nobody forced me to be where I am. And at the end of the day, I try. Nobody can say I don't work for my constituency. Nobody can say I'm not there for the people. But the Labour Party have made it as difficult as they possibly can for me. And they continue to advocate the most negative things towards me. They know there's no investigation going on about me in the US. They paid $3 million for a report on me. Hid the report because the report cleared my name. And they continue. And then people want to call and say about telling lies. I am reading what transpired in the church in the presence of about 40 persons made up of lies. And if it's not lies, it is a total misrepresentation or recollection of the events. All of that time, I have stayed quiet. You know why? Because I am embarrassed. You know why I am embarrassed? Because this is God's church. This is not my church. Both of us are supposed to be from the same faith. You think I feel good being here? When I saw the poster that somebody made of the two of us, like with boxing gloves, and they put Seventh-day Adventists below it, you know, I may not be the best person, but I have regard for God and I have regard for the things of God. And I'm mindful how I use these things and what I do. And that is why I have been very reserved. My wife can tell you, from the Saturday when this happened in the church to now, and then coupled with all of that, you have to put up with all of the comments that are being made about you. That is untrue. And when you know, because it's not what other people know, it is what you know. When you know you have not done anything, when you know in your heart that what you are doing, I have been defending this family's name in the constituency. I have heard the most egregious things, the most hurtful things about the Henry family. And I have defended. I have not said a bad word in that situation with the Henry family and the loss of their son. And to try and turn this on me, I mean, even though I'm a tough fella, even though I deal with blows and I take blows and I give blows, but I'm still a human being. When I can be accused of being cursed because I am childless, they don't know what my decisions are in life, but they post that for the whole world to see that I am cursed. These are the people who would come and would tell me the things that they are saying, and then it's there for everybody to see. And you know in your heart what you have done. But I tell them, the words of God never return to him void. And that is why I don't do good for me to get reward from people. I do good and I try to be honest, because I know there's one person alone that rewards your good, and that is God. So at the end of the day, everybody can form what conclusion they want about me. What I can say to you, Champagne, I've had my fair share. I've dealt with that. But nobody is going to back me into a corner. Nobody is going to keep me silent. Because in the midst of all of that, the campaigning of the St. Lucia Labour Party has never stopped in the community of Castries Southeast. The campaigning has not stopped throughout all of this. And you can go and ask anybody, Champagne. And I'm hoping that tomorrow people can call your program and tell you the campaign. So here I am. I'm supposed to be silent, say nothing, take all your blows, and allow the opposition to capitalize on the situation, because you are supposed to be considerate, but nobody is supposed to consider your own situation. That is not how life works. We are all human beings. And I was saying, even if I am tough, even if people look at me as a monster and they call me all names, that doesn't change who I am. And that doesn't make me who they say I am.
Well,
I am still me.
Yeah.
And the people of Castries Southeast know that I love them, and I put my life on the line for them every day. Not just today. I've been doing it for 15 years, and they know that. I don't hide from my responsibility. I carry out all my work in the ministry. I see about my affairs in church. Everybody knows I don't go out there on a Saturday and campaign. On a Friday night, you cannot get me out there. I will not bring the name of my church into disrepute in these things.
Amen.
I try to maintain a certain standard. I may be falling short in other areas, so that doesn't make me, when I say that, that doesn't make me better than other people. But what is happening there? I am more hurt for what happened to the members of the church and what my wife is going through than what I am going through, because I can deal with that. I can take these blows. And like I said, if that makes the Henry family feel good, feel better, not good, because they cannot feel good with their pain. But if it's going to relieve one little bit of pain for them, they can give me all the blows that they want. I will take these blows to ease up their pain. But if the Labour Party thing, they will use that for political reasons, that is where I depart. Because I will treat Mr. Henry separate and apart from them because of what he's going through. But I'm not going to excuse the Ernest Hilles and the Philip JPS and all of them who are advocating what they are advocating and trying to capitalize on a situation that is unfortunate. I owe my church members an apology, because as much as I did nothing to bring that upon them, and when I called the pastor and I spoke to the pastor, and even today I was having a conversation with another brother from the church, not from my congregation, but from the church, and I was saying, I feel bad. I feel as if I am the one who brought that upon the church, even though I did not do anything to cause that to happen in there, because I am still trying to find out what I did, where I did it, and how I did it. But I never blame other people for what happened to me. I always take my responsibility. And I'm hoping that this thing that happened there in the church on Sabbath will never ever happen to any other church or assembly in this country. This must be outrightly condemned. I don't care what somebody is going through. We have no right to put other people at risk, to disrupt church services. And I know the things of God, you don't play with that, because when you are cursed, and when the consequences of being cursed is falling upon you. And I'm saying this because here I am being accused of being cursed by people who are doing things to bring curses upon themselves. Yeah. How can that be right? Now, in the midst of all that is happening, there is hurt and there is pain. There is sorrow on every side. But lashing out at other people, does that take away your pain? Does that make you feel better? And I'm telling you, somebody asked me, the last thing I will say, somebody asked me, so if Mr. Henry had come up to you and slapped you, what would you have done? And I said, most likely I would not do anything. I'm telling you, I thought about it, and my wife is right here and she can tell you, Champagne, this is not Guy Joseph that handled that situation on Saturday. When I got home, I said to Wendy, that's not the Guy Joseph that I know. The Guy Joseph that I know would have taken this thing head on. But I thank God tonight that things turned out the way that it did. I thank God for me, and I thank God for the Henry family, that it did not turn out worse than it did. And I hope that the St. Lucia Labour Party learns a lesson from this, not to encourage the violence in St. Lucia.
Well, Mr. Minister, before we leave, and you're a legislator, isn't it not fair to put that to our only form of security in the country? And I'm not just talking about the incident on Saturday. There have been several incidents before. Where is the government or the legislators on those insights of violence, those statements? We are not hearing anything. This is a country of law where its citizens need to be protected. Is it
Champagne,
because
the legislators cannot direct the law enforcement because there's a separation from the judiciary.
Right.
That is why the commissioner is protected under certain things in the Constitution, the DPP, and there are certain things that we can do because you don't want a police state where you want the various arms of government to operate independently.
Right.
But I agree that I have said once you allow it to happen once, it will happen twice, it will happen 3 times, and then it becomes the pattern. And I am very scared, not for myself alone, but for worshippers in other places where people will feel, because people will feel, si monsieur ça fait ça, ça qui fait ma ça fait.
This is my point.
That is the biggest danger. And I've said it, and the caller can disagree with me, but the Labour Party has been inciting that kind of behavior in St. Lucia for the longest while. And if we don't stop, if we don't take stock of where we are, then it might not, I may not be here to see it, but the future generations will pay for it. And that is why when you see the Labour Party say, win we win, lose we win, by any means necessary, that is the danger. They do not respect democracy. They always tell you, this is our country, let us take it back. Yeah. How many times you hear UWP say, this is our country, let's take it?
Not once.
That is a Labour Party mantra.
Yeah.
And I'm advising, I'm pleading and appealing to the people of St. Lucia. You see this Labour Party and what they have done, the statements made by Ernest Healy, the conduct of the Labour Party, the constant walkout of the House. Every day they complain, you don't want them to talk. But if you go and check Hansard, you will see that the 6 of them have spoken overall more than the 11 of us in Parliament overall. And you can go and check Hansard for yourself. But you know what? They always cry the victim. That is their game. Right, they always play the victim. So even in this incident, they make it out to be that the Labour Party is the victim and it's Guy Joseph that did something. And I am appealing to them. Please, I am sure that maybe in Mr. Joachim's position presently, he may not be able to. I will make that excuse for him. But the leader of the party, Philip J. Pierre, can at least get the information and put it out there to St. Lucians. This is what Guy Joseph did that triggered that reaction. I think at least St. Lucians are owed that much from the Labour Party so that they can make an informed decision on what transpired and how it was warranted that this is how the problem should be solved.
And with all due respect, Mr. Joseph, you will not see that.
Castries Southeast, I thank you. I thank the people who have prayed for me. Because I always, and my wife knows that, she told me, you know what, I will stand in the gap for you. I will be the one to be there to cover you with prayer. My sisters, my brothers from all denominations. Champagne, the amount of people who pray for me in this country, I'm not here by my own strength.
I know.
It's the prayers of these people and every single St. Lucian, both here and abroad, who have prayed for me. I want to assure you, I need more prayers now than ever before. I thank you and I thank God that this is all that happened last Sabbath in church in Forest there. I don't know how it's going to be, how the feeling is going to be going back to church this Sabbath, but I will be in church because that is what I do every single Sabbath. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Minister, I admire your courage and your strength, and Mrs. Joseph, thank you for being here as well. But if I could give you one bit of advice, Mr. Minister, don't read comments. I don't read statements. I don't make statements. I don't read nothing on Facebook. Not a single thing. I'm just giving that bit of advice. There's nothing positive coming out of it. I don't read comments. I don't send out comments. I don't read nothing. Don't. There's nothing positive coming. As long as it's coming from here, and I'm sorry to say that, I don't read it. And I'm advising people, if you believe there's anything positive coming out of those statements in the Labour Party, you believe in Santa Claus as well.
There's no reason to. Why would you go dig into your phone, dig into your computer, go find negativity
exactly.
into your personal
I mean,
space?
what you getting out of that? No, there's nothing you could gain.
In fact, Champagne, I generally don't do that.
I don't read nothing.
But I was just following the trends of the conversations of what happened. And I want to tell St. Lucians, there's some more information that will be released as we go along. Different people would be writing their reports on how they felt and what transpired. And because I have given from not just my point of view, but a general overview of what transpired in the church. And like I said, words cannot describe the actual feeling and the atmosphere that existed. But I thank God overall. And I will say to St. Lucians, for those who don't believe in miracles, you know, you know what Wendy said to me? Wendy said to me, remember the time when Jesus was in the temple and the crowd was so furious that they were going to take him to throw him over a cliff and they would have killed him right there. But his time for dying and his manner of dying was not to... And God just caused them not to see him. Now, I don't want anybody to think for one moment that I'm comparing myself with Jesus.
Amen.
That was Wendy's words. She said to me, the same way God clouded their vision that they could not see him, she said to me, this is what happened in the church.
I believe
this
that.
is what happened. And God did that for both Mr. Henry and myself.
All right. Well, thanks again, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph, for being on the program. And it took a great deal of courage, Mrs. Joseph, to be here today. I know you're not always in the limelight, and you're not so comfortable with that, but it is something that you had to do. So we hope we'll see you again soon. Thank you, St. Lucia, for being with us tonight, and we will be back here next Monday evening with the program Inside Castries Southeast. I was not a happy camper today, St. Lucia, you could tell, because I believe these things have gone on for too long and it needs to be stopped. Something has to be done. We have heard all of those statements being made, and now it has gone one level. It has taken it to another level where they're storming into a church, for heaven's sake. Anyway, tomorrow morning I'm going to be back here with you with the program Champagne in the Morning, and you know this is not ended tonight. I'm going to be all over this thing tomorrow. I just wanted to hear what the minister had to say on his end, and then tomorrow morning you could call me here and we're going to have a 3-4 hour program tomorrow morning about this incident, because this nonsense has to stop in our beautiful country. If we don't stop it now, we will not have a country. This is a country of law. Norbert Williams comes on at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I know he's going to continue from where we left off tonight. We're going to go right into the BBC for all of our BBC lovers. Thank you for tuning in, St. Lucia. Until next Monday evening for another program of Inside Castries Office. From the Josephs to Champagne, have a great night. Always remember to say thank you to the great God above for allowing you another brand new day and getting you into tomorrow. Until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, Champagne want to say you have a great evening, and we love you from Sky FM.
I'm not gonna bye.
Hello everyone, I'm Norbert Williams, right here on Sky FM 93.1. Join me Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. for the morning edition of Keeping It Real. And on Tuesdays and Fridays, Minerva Ward joining me from Canada, right near the North Pole. Although it's cold over there, it's gonna be hot in here. Don't you forget, Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on GVD TV and streaming live on Facebook. Don't you miss it.
I am she, I am he, I am me, I am we, mwen se nou tout. As sure as the morning sun will blanket and then engulf the hills and the valleys, I know I will persevere. I always have and I always will. Paski ala would say che and hat is me that have that. For decades, I have awoken early. With the morning sun on my brow, I have collected my things, my tea, my cat clue and my fork. Me and my sons, my daughters, my dog and my mite. And we have walked. We have walked and we have run. We run the many miles it took to reach that place where the soil was rich. That place where we were to plant. That place where what we plant would grow. I know the smell of that earth all too well. I know the feel of that earth, for I am that earth.
Well, I'm a farmer. I've been a farmer for the longest while. I was an extension officer. The fact that I'm growing food to supply the nation, to give the people around, that alone makes me feel very good about the farming.
That fertile fortress from whose bosom we have filled our bellies. We have peddled it too. We sold it. Green, golden and grand, beautiful and majestic in the midday sun. For perhaps always see, you work the land on which you are born, and that is how you grow. And grow we did. He, she, me, no tooth.
Right behind me there, where I'm sitting there, is the press. That's where after you harvest the cassava, you grit it. You press it, you put it in a bag, so you have that process, you press it. And after it is pressed, you take it to the house where you sift it. You have a sifter where you sift it fine, and then you put it in the caron. That's the platin, that's what we use to make the fluorine.
Mama told me ever since when that life is neither predictable nor always rosy. So, as the green faded and the roads lay forgotten, I lifted my eyes to the east, for I still can see. I see the sea beautiful. It is purple, golden, green, fish and simos? Simos, yes. Healthy, hearty, handy, just in time too, because it will go well with my chocolate that I with my own hands learn how to make from my own cocoa. I will pursue them. I will endeavor. I will not stop, because I will persevere, and I will grow. No toot. She, he, me, we. And all the while I keep singing. I sing and I dance too. Sometimes my middle even split. And while I have found fame in sports, I am also known for my service. So as I jump, I kick, I bat and I bowl, I protect and I serve and I teach. And yes, I am still running. I run, not just because I can, and God knows I can, but because it reminds me to. that from Prale to the Trumasi Bridge, everything in between is me. All the work is mine, all the joy is mine, and the tears, they are mine too. I still have strength. I still have pride, and although I have changed with the seasons, my essence persists, my culture resists and fights for its life. Parce que nous toutes c'est même. I am he, I am she, I am me, I am we. Now this is 2021, unprecedented, a time of uncertainty, that's understood, a time of fear and of loss, but also a time for faith. I will lean on that which we have already built. He will stand, she will rise, we, nous toutes. Petit et puis quoi, jaune et rouge, nous toutes ces chrétiens, we will do it. We will ride that wave, not just because we want to do it, but because we dare to do it together.